Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is left for dead by Team 7 Council bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Isom and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1, Prologue. The wave mission was underway and Team 7 was having a little trouble. The team was fighting the missing ninja Zabuza and his tool Haku. Kakashi was taking on the swordsman, Sakura was back protecting Tazuna, and Naruto and Sasuke were fighting with Haku. Sasuke was currently unconscious from Saban needles. The sound of chirping birds filled the air. Naruto turned to face the sound to take a Chidori through the chest from his sensei Kakashi. No! Haki yelled as Naruto's body was sent into a river. Who cares about some dead last? Kakashi asked coldly. He was holding Sasuke back. He was holding him back. Growled and angered Zabuza. He did much better than these twerps. They were the ones holding him back. Without another word, Zabuza and Haku left. After a few minutes of silence, Sakura burst out laughing. We finally got rid of that loser. Sasuke was still out cold, so he couldn't react. Kakashi smiled under his mask. I have avenged you, sensei, he thought. Tazuna was inwardly fuming. This so-called honorable team had betrayed one of its own. As the team left, Tazuna silently paid respect to Naruto and prayed for his soul. Meanwhile, down the river, Naruto's body floated downriver. As his body floated, a large shadow was cast over the river and a large claw plucked him from the water. Chapter 1, Rise to Power. A large dragon flew through the sky. It had a thick body, large wings, a long neck, a long tail, and a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. Its scales were a bright silver and its eyes were a deep gold. It had a deep scowl of anger on its face. It had witnessed the betrayal of the blonde boy by his team. What sickened him was that some humans were so ignorant that they killed what they thought wasn't human. What they call a monster. Bah! As it flew, it glanced at Naruto, who was currently gripped in his claw. It reached a decision. Later, the beast sat down and laid Naruto on its back. Its golden eyes shined as it looked at the boy. It saw the Kyuubi inside Naruto's body. It guessed that was the reason his team betrayed him, and why his wound healed so fast. The dragon knew it had to act fast, so closing its eyes it turned to chakra and flew into Naruto's body, entering his mind. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto was fuming. Why? Why did they do it? He asked. Kyuubi, still in his cage, answered, They thought you were me, boy. That is why everyone has tried to kill and hurt you over the years. They see you as a monster. Naruto was quiet, then he threw back his head and roared in rage. I'll make them pay. He roared. Kyuubi smirked. I can help you with that, kit. How? Naruto asked, interested. I can give you my chakra. Merge it with you. Make you the most powerful ninja in Fire Country. Naruto was thinking it over when there was a flash of silver chakra. Naruto and Kyuubi looked to see the silver dragon that saved his life. Don't take his offer, boy. If you do, you will be corrupted, the dragon spoke. Kyuubi snarled, the boy wants revenge. If he takes my power, he will have it. The two continued to argue whether or not Naruto should take the power. That is until said boy had enough. Hey! He yelled, getting the attention of both monsters. I think we can reach a compromise, Naruto said in a much calmer voice. Both listened, interested in what it was. Why don't you both merge your chakra with me? Both the creatures looked at each other as Naruto continued. That way I can get the power of two creatures and I won't be corrupted. It was quiet until the dragon broke the silence. He has a point. Kyuubi nodded and they both faced Naruto. Then the ceremony began. I, Kyuubi, king of beasts, bestow my power unto you, Naruto Uzumaki. I, Elyon, king of the dragons, bestow my power unto you, Naruto Uzumaki. Do you accept our power? I do, Naruto answered. As he answered, Elyon and Kyuubi each sent a blast of their chakra at him. Elyon's gold, Kyuubi's red. As they hit, Naruto lost consciousness. Later, Naruto groaned as he came to. He looked around to see he was in a cave. He saw a mirror on one side and decided to see if the new chakra had changed him. When he looked in the mirror, he jumped back in surprise. He was 2 inches taller, making him as tall as Sasuke. He was also slightly more muscular. He noticed his eyes had changed. They were still blue, but they had a line of silver around the iris, and the pupil was slit. He looked down at his arms to find a red fox tattoo on his right arm and a silver dragon on his left. Naruto smiled at his new self, then realized his clothes were too tight. He looked around to see a new thing of clothes neatly folded. A black shirt with a fire symbol on the chest, black jean shorts and sandals. There was an orange vest with crimson fox and shining dragon stitched in kanji on the back. After he put on his new clothes, he left the cave. As he left the cave, he saw 2 swords crossed in the mouth of the cave. One was gold with a straight blade, a wide hilt that was curved upward on the sides, and a dragon head on the bottom of the handle. The second was red and straight like the first, only the hilt had 2 fan-shaped spikes coming out the top of the hilt. Naruto smirked and took hold of each one with the corresponding tattoo on his arms. As he did, he felt a sudden surge of power through his body. As the sensation faded and he placed the swords in the sheaths that appeared on his back, he laughed. Get ready, you traitors, he said to no one in particular, cause it's payback time. With that said, he set off toward Wave at a speed that rivaled Might Guy. Chapter 2, He's back. In Tazuna's village, Team 7 was currently training, or Sasuke was training, and Sakura was just staring. Meanwhile, Naruto watched, annoyed that he was on a team of such idiots. Naruto was about to come out and get revenge when he saw something that caught his eye. He saw Teams 8 and 10. What the heck are they doing here? He thought. They must be here for backup, said in Naruto's mind. Naruto growled angrily. This really makes things harder. Naruto, said Elian, I know a way to split them up and to get back your former team. Draw your swords and focus our chakra into them. Naruto did just that, and as it did there was a flash. As it faded, Naruto saw two men holding the corresponding sword. The man holding Elian's sword was tall, pale, had white hair and piercing blue eyes. He wore all white and had Dragon King and Kanji tattooed on his arm. The one holding Kyuubi's was almost twin to the other man, except he wore all black and had Beast Lord on his arm, plus a long scar on his left eye. Naruto didn't need a degree to know who they were. Elian and Kyuubi. In the human flesh, said Elian. Elian and Kyuubi made their way over to the two training teams. The first one who noticed was Kiba, since he could smell them. Who are you? He growled at the two newcomers. They didn't answer. Kyuubi walked up to Kurenai and whispered something into her ear. Elian just looked at Kakashi. So you're the famous copy ninja, huh? He asked, getting a nod from said ninja. How disappointing. Kakashi just stared at him. What? You copied almost every technique in your arsenal. You're just a lazy fool who trains a worthless Uchiha. Hey! Sakura screeched, you can't talk about Sasuke like that. He's better than you two ever will be. Kyuubi glared at her. He's a spoiled brat with a god complex. The only one who actually had talent on this team was that blonde kid. Really? Kiba asked, hearing that part. Elian smirked. Yeah. He always held up a mask to hide his true strength. And he never really liked the pink banshee over there. The Hyuga girl had a special place in his heart. Hinata turned red hearing that Naruto had feelings for her. Kiba noticed this and silently growled, since he had a crush on Hinata ever since the academy. Ha! Sasuke laughed. That dope would never have been stronger than me. Kiba laughed too. Besides, even if that punk did live, he would never get Hinata. She's my girl. Hinata's eyes narrowed at that declaration, as did Kurenai. Shino's face remained stoic, but you could hear a slight buzzing. Meaning he was annoyed. Kyuubi smiled slightly. Well then, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? As soon as he said this, the two started to glow with chakra. Soon they both turned to chakra completely and flew into the sky, swords in tow. The two converged in the sky on a figure which flew down at them. As it landed, it formed a massive crater. As the smoke cleared, it revealed a figure some of them never thought they would see again. Naruto! Hinata yelled out as she ran up and hugged him tight. Upon realizing what she was doing, she let go, blushing extremely. The blush only got worse as Naruto hugged her. Unfortunately, Kiba had to ruin the moment. Get off of my Hinata! He growled, charging only to run into a wall of bugs. Naruto smiled. Thank you, Shino. You're welcome. How are you alive? Asked a shocked and slightly nervous Kakashi. I had help, Naruto answered. Sasuke was eyeing his swords. Where did you get those swords, though? None of your business. The answer, of course, got Sakura angry. How dare you not tell him? He's better than you, Baka, so tell him. Naruto looked her in the eyes and, to everyone's surprise, punched her right in the face. Naruto looked at the setting sun. So, what's for dinner? Later, the teams, Naruto, and a still unconscious Sakura arrived at Tazuna's house. They were met with the sight of Tsunami, Tazuna's daughter, cooking some really good-looking stuff. She noticed Naruto. Oh, who is this? She asked in a sweet voice. Naruto held out his hand. Naruto Uzumaki. Nice to meet you. Tsunami shook his hand. At this time, Tazuna walked in. As soon as he saw Naruto, he freaked out. Ghost! He screamed. Tsunami stared at her father. What do you mean, Dad? That kid was the one that the silver-haired guy's team betrayed and killed. Almost instantly, all eyes were on Kakashi and his team, who were sweating bullets. Kurenai had fire in her eyes. You are so dead when we get back to Konoha, she growled. After things calmed down, and everyone had gotten the explanation of how Naruto was betrayed, killed, and had been healed, they sat down to eat, and a small boy in a fisherman's hat joined them. They all sat and ate in silence until the boy decided to speak up. Why do you try so hard? He asked. Everyone stared at him. You just come in here without a scratch on you, and we've been suffering all our lives. Why don't you just leave now? Inari gasped. Tsunami. Kid, Naruto said slowly, you don't know the meaning of pain. I don't know pain? Inari asked. I don't know pain? My entire life has been pain. That demon Gato forced the suffering on all our lives. You don't act. Naruto had had enough of the little kid and was currently lifting him up by the throat. He stared into Inari's eyes, his own turning a deep red. You know nothing of demons or suffering, boy, Naruto said in a dark voice. He dropped Inari to the floor and stormed out the door. Everyone was surprised. Naruto had never really had a bad temper before. What was that about? Asked Inari as he got up. Kakashi sighed. I guess you should know. He told them of Naruto's life. How he was treated, and what the people of the village did to him. When he was done, he looked around to see the reactions. Hinata, Kurenai, and Tsunami were crying, and the guys all looked angry. Except Shino, who had a stoic expression on his face but a tear running down his cheek. The only one not reacting was Sasuke. Sakura, however, broke out laughing, like anyone cares about that loser. He got everything he deserved. She laughed maniacally. She suddenly stopped as she felt a large amount of killing intent directed at her from everyone except Sasuke. Sensei, why are you mad? She asked her angered sensei. Because, he answered, I've thought about it. If he really was the monster that the villagers kept saying he was, whenever they beat him the village would have been destroyed by now. But you betrayed him, said a surprised Izuna. Kakashi hung his head in shame. One of the council members paid me to kill him on the mission. I needed the money, so I didn't have a choice. I'd apologize to him, but I don't think he'll listen. I could, said a voice. Everyone turned to see Naruto in the doorway smiling. And I do forgive you, Kakashi-sensei, he said, holding out his hand. Kakashi smiled and shook it. Well, Kakashi said, getting up, get to bed everyone, tomorrow we continue training. Chapter 3, Family Reunion. Guess what happens, Jay? Naruto woke up the next morning feeling refreshed and having a good feeling. He walked downstairs to see the others had left. Darn. How late did I sleep in? He asked. A few hours, Tsunami answered. Naruto washed up, grabbed his clothes and vamoosed. He found the teams in a field a mile from the bridge Tizuna was building. When everyone saw him, he saw some were a little annoyed. Sakura, however, just walked up and started screaming. You idiot! She screeched, what the heck took you so long? You made Sasuke waste time waiting for you. She drew back her arm and slammed her fist into his jaw. She turned satisfied when she felt a strong hand on her shoulder. It spun her around just in time for Naruto to slam his fist into her face. The force of the blows sent her flying. She broke through a few trees and splashed down into the lake. Naruto smiled slightly and walked up to his sensei. Sensei, I'm going to have to leave for a while, he said, shocking everyone. Sasuke smirked. What, lose your nerve, loser? He laughed arrogantly but shut up when Naruto sent a wave of killing intent at him. Why do you have to go, Naruto? Asked Kakashi. Let's just say there's going to be a family reunion, Naruto answered as he turned and left. Kakashi had a feeling he was going to be hurting when he got back. He turned to Kiba. Get Sakura out of the lake, he ordered. Meanwhile, Naruto was running like heck toward his destination. As he did, he was talking to Elian. Are you sure this is where I'm going to find my parents? He mentally asked as he ran. Yes, answered the dragon. Your parents are at a hospital a few miles from here. All right. Watch out, Mom and Dad, here I come. 30 minutes later, Naruto skidded to a stop in front of a hospital. Oh great. It had to be a hospital, he mentally complained. Since a lot of the doctors at the hospital in Konoha had tried to poison him, or let him die, he had a fear of them. Naruto walked up to the desk in front and rang the service bell. A young woman in a nurse's outfit came out. Yes? She asked in a sweet voice. I'm here to see about 2 patients you have here, he answered. Who? She asked. A woman with long red hair and a man with spiky yellow hair. The nurse checked the files. Room 201. Naruto went up the elevator and down the hall until he found the room. He walked in to see a woman with fiery red hair and a man with spiky yellow hair. The woman's chart had the name Kushina Uzumaki and man's had Minato Namikaze. Naruto smirked and drew his swords. Perfect healing jutsu, piercing sun. He fired a bright glow at the two. As the glow faded, the two started to wake up. Kushina got up and looked at Naruto. And Naruto? She asked in a shaking voice. Naruto nodded. She shot out of bed and nearly crushed him in a tight hug. Naruto, my baby boy. Naruto was trying to get his mom off before he lost consciousness from lack of air. Minato had woken up a few minutes ago and looked at his son. Good to see you, son, he said, smiling. Kushina let go and smiled. So what brings you here? She asked. Naruto told them about the mission he was on. How his team betrayed him, but how Kakashi had tried to make things right. Minato was angry, but he was willing to forgive him. Unfortunately, his wife was going to beat him into the ground when he got a hold of him. He also told them about the Kyuubi and Elian. Both were in shock that their son had such power. After that, Naruto left so they could get dressed and leave. When they came out, Minato had on long black jeans, an orange shirt with a white trench coat with red flames. Kushina had tight umba pants and a loose shirt that showed off nothing. As they left, Minato asked something that had been on his mind. So Naruto, how has the village treated you? Naruto looked at his dad. Dad, you intended for the village to treat me as a hero, right? Minato nodded. I've had more beatings than a naughty child, more attempts on my life than a politician, and the list goes on. Minato scowled and Kushina looked ready to go berserk on the next person that looked at her. When they calmed down, they headed back for Tazuna's village. A few hours later, the family entered the village and headed for Tazuna's house. When they got there, they found the door broken in. They rushed inside to see Tsunami and Inari on the floor at sword point by 2 thugs. Back off or the girl and the brat die, said the first. The second just stared. Naruto walked forward. The thug raised his sword, but he didn't get a chance to bring it down since Minato had appeared behind him in a flash of gold and brought his heel down on his skull. The second was pinned to the wall by a flurry of kunai from Kushina. What are you doing here? Naruto asked in a menacing voice. WW were sent here by Jigato to use the bridge builder's kid and grandson as bargaining chips, he said in a visibly shaken voice. Naruto knocked him out by bashing his head with the side of his sword. Then he shot out of the room toward the bridge. Minato laughed. Ha ha ha! That's my boy. Then he shot out along with his wife after their son. At the bridge, the teams had seen better days. They were currently surrounded by thick mist courtesy of Zabuza. Sakura, Hinata and Shino were all guarding Tazuna. Actually, Hinata and Shino were guarding him. Sakura had abandoned her post and was currently outside a dome of ice mirror Haku made begging Sasuke to be safe. Typical. In the dome Sasuke was having trouble standing. Kiba was unconscious next to him filled with Senbon needles. Sasuke used him as a human shield to protect himself. Haku was extremely disappointed at that. Zabuza was going 1-on-2 with Kakashi and Kurenai. The mist was keeping Kakashi from using his Sharingan and Kurenai from using her Genjutsu. As all hope seemed lost, two figures entered the mist. One went to the dome of ice mirrors and shattered each one, and when Haku came out knocked her out cold. The second figure drove towards Zabuza and beat him like a drum. Kakashi could have sworn he'd seen them somewhere before. So the old swordsman failed, huh? Said a new voice. Those who were conscious turned to see a short old man in a tux with a cane with an army of thugs behind him. Guess you can hire good help these days. Kill them but keep the girls around. They look like they could be fun. Almost as soon as he said that a voice yelled, "Dragon style, burning dragon." As the voice faded, a large dragon made entirely of golden flames appeared. It swooped down on the mercenaries. When the flames faded there weren't even ashes left. At that moment the mist faded and everyone who was awake gasped in shock. Naruto stood with one of his sword alit with gold fire with the thought-deceased fourth Hokage and his wife, as sensei. Kakashi got out in a visibly shaken voice. "Kakashi," said Minato, "I'd run if I were you." Kakashi gulped when he saw the look in Kushina's eyes. He gulped and ran for his life with the enraged woman hot on his heels. Naruto laughed at his sensei's retreating form. After that the remaining members picked up the unconscious and went back to Tazuna's house while said man worked on the bridge. As they left though a certain Uchiha was thinking, such power. Only an Uchiha deserves that power. I'll get it from him. And if I can I'll get that man and woman to train me. Chapter 4, Home, New Teams, and Councils. Oh brother, Naruto and the rest of the teams were at Tazuna's house resting up and healing. Kakashi more so since he suffered a beating at the hands of an angry mother. They had just finished healing when Kakashi had decided to talk to his sensei. Sensei, yes Kakashi? Said Minato. Kakashi hung his head. Can you forgive me? Minato was silent. Why did you do it? I was paid by one of the council members to kill him on this mission. After I did I felt an incredible guilt on my heart. Around that time I realized the mistake I made when I did. All I could do was pray for my soul and hope that Kami would have mercy on my soul. Kakashi, Minato said after a few moments of silence. Yes? You are forgiven. Meanwhile, a revived Haku and Zabuza were waking up to find themselves on a couch and under the eye of the blonde kid. You! Zabuza yelled out in surprise, but how the copy ninja killed you? Naruto chuckled. I had some help from some powerful. What do you want? Asked a slightly unnerved Haku. I you to come back with us. Join the Hidden Leaf Village and become ninja there. Leave behind this lifestyle. Both of them were shocked. They were being offered a new home and a chance to live in peace. They accepted eagerly. Naruto smiled as he left. That is until he ran into a certain emo punk and a pink-haired banshee. Dobe, Sasuke ordered, give me your power now. Not happening team. He answered. What? Sakura screamed. Why won't you give him that power? He deserves it more than you do, Baka. She shot her fist forward to hit him in the face only for him to catch it and then lift her into the air and smash her head into the wall. Naruto faced the Uchiha, his eyes glowing red. You won't get his power. He growled, making Sasuke move slowly away. The next day, the teams along with the missing Nin were starting home. As they crossed the bridge home, Minato caught sight of a plaque that read, inspired by the one who returned hope to this place, the Great Naruto Bridge. They all walked toward home till they reached the gate to Konoha. The guard at the gate were going to stop them to get Haku and Zabuza, but they stopped dead when they saw Minato and Kushina. They made their way through the village, getting stares from everyone who were shocked to see missing ninja in the village and to see the fourth alive. They reached the Hokage's office and the old man was shocked to see Minato alive. Minato, glad to see you, Ak. He started but was picked up by an angry father. You said he would be safe. Growled the thought-dead Hokage. And Minato, I tried to do something but I couldn't. The council had my hands behind my back. Even if I did, the civilian council found ways to secretly hurt him. That and they managed to overthrow every time one of the shinobi clans tried to adopt him. The old man managed to get out despite being choked. Minato set him down. I have an offer to make you, he said to the old man. Meanwhile, Naruto was at the training field with his mom who was teaching him some two swords techniques. Naruto was getting the hang of it when a certain Uchiha showed up. What do you want now, team? Naruto asked, annoyed. That power, and those swords. He answered. You're not having either. Sasuke rushed forward. Then I'll take them. He nearly reached Naruto when said boy brought his knee into Sasuke's stomach, knocking him into the air. Naruto got in a peculiar taijutsu stance. Dragon Fist style, Dragon Crusher. Naruto vanished, and then reappeared above Sasuke. He slammed his fist into Sasuke's gut. He dove down covered in silver chakra and smashed down on Sasuke. Naruto stood over his enemy, a victorious smile on his lips. Now that was youthful, yelled a deep voice. Naruto and his mother, who had witnessed the fight, turned to see a large man with a bowl cut, round eyes, huge eyebrows, a green jumpsuit with orange leg warmers and a Chunin vest. Who are you? Naruto asked, very freaked out. I am the Leaf's leading taijutsu specialist, Might Guy. He yelled, smiling, revealing a mouthful of white teeth that shone brightly. Now I must know, what was that style? Oh, I call it the Dragon Fist style, Naruto answered. Guy smiled. Then I would like you to test that style against one of my students sometime. Do you accept? Yes. Then I look forward to your battle. With that said, the odd man left. Later on that day, an Umbu agent came saying that he was summoned by the council. Naruto knew this had something to do with Sasuke. Naruto arrived at the council chamber to see the Hokage's chair turned around. He also saw the rest of Team 7 and ate along with Haku and Zabuza. What have you done, brat? Growled the Civiline councilman. You beat the great Uchiha with incredible power. Power you do not deserve. Naruto narrowed his eyes. No, he growled. Then we will. Silence, yelled a voice no one recognized from behind the Hokage's seat. Sarutobi? Asked a pink-haired councilwoman. He's not here. The chair turned around to reveal Minato. How? Asked Danzo aloud. I woke up from a coma, the man answered. The pink-haired woman got up. Great. Now you can finally help us kill that demon. Big mistake. Minato appeared in front of her and lifted her up off the floor. Then he slammed her head into the floor. Minato looked at the shocked council. Now as of today I am Hokage again. As my first act, all civil clans are no longer part of the council. The advisors will be replaced by more level-headed ones, and Danzo, you're fired. The council was in uproar. Minato called Umbu and had them dragged out. Now that that's out of the way, turns to Haku and Zabuza. I hear you want to join the village. What do you have to offer? Zabuza stepped up. I can be a teacher in Kenjutsu, and I can teach the new swordsman the silent killing technique. My daughter Haku has a bloodline that gives her the ability to manipulate ice. The remaining council was intrigued. The ice ability could come in handy, and so would a swordsmanship teacher. Minato made Haku a Chunin and Zabuza a Jounin. Now on to more pressing matters. Umbu, bring them in. As he said this, 4 newcomers came in. One was platinum blonde with blue eyes and had a purple top and skirt. The second was a chubby boy with brow hair and swirls on his cheeks. The third tall and gray and had black hair tied in wolf tail. The fourth was a man in a Jounin vest with black hair and a cigarette in his mouth. Team 10 had shown up. Ino, upon seeing Sasuke, threw her arms around him. Back off, Ino pig, he's mine. Sakura screamed. How troublesome, said Shikamaru. So where's Naruto? I heard he changed over the mission. You got that right, said Naruto. They all turned and stared at the new Naruto. Ino seemed to be lost in his silver-lined eyes. And Naruto, she stuttered as she took in his new look. Naruto raised an eyebrow. You okay, Ino? Ino then threw her arms around Naruto's neck and kissed his cheek. The results were different. Almost everyone in the room were shocked except Inoichi, Ino's dad, who was glad his daughter was no longer after the Uchiha brat. Hinata looked ready to explode in jealousy. Minato cleared his throat. Now then, due to an incident on the mission to Wave Country, new teams will be formed. Hinata and Ino will be taking Sasuke and Sakura's places on Team 7. They will be taught by my wife Kushina since Kakashi retired this afternoon. Sakura will be with Shikamaru and Shuji, and Sasuke will be with Kiba and Shino. Agreed? Dismissed. With that, Naruto brought up a swirl of gold fire and vanished along with his new teammates. This made Sasuke mad, of course. He swore that he would get that power even if he had to beat it out of him. Chapter 5, Training and Betrothal. At one of the training grounds, Kushina was waiting for her new team of students. She had been waiting for a few minutes when she was approached by a familiar figure. Hello, Guy, she said nonchalantly. Hello, Kushina, he replied. Who are you waiting for? My team, she answered. Well, then I will get mine. I wish for them to see each other. With that said, he took off. Only a few seconds after he left did a plume of golden fire appear. It dispersed to reveal Naruto, Ino and Hinata. The two girls looked a little dizzy. Naruto, what was that? Asked the shaky Ino. A shushin of a different kind, he answered. Warn us next time, said Hinata as she found her legs. Glad to see you're all here, Kushina said, getting everyone's attention. Hinata and Ino were staring at one of the strongest kunoichi ever. Just then Guy returned with a tall boy with Hyuga eyes and long hair, a girl in a pink shirt and hair tied up in buns, and a boy who looked almost exactly like him only without the Chunin vest. Good to see you, he yelled in a loud voice. Everyone was shocked at the sight of the strange man. Guy looked everyone over until he saw Naruto. You're that boy with the strange taijutsu. Naruto grinned. Yep. So you said you wanted me to fight one of your students? Yes, I did. Lee, the boy who looked like Guy, jumped down in front of him. Yes, Guy-sensei? He asked. I want you to fight this boy, he answered. Lee surveyed his opponent and got in a taijutsu stance. Naruto drew his swords and sank them into the ground. The girl was looking at them with unhidden interest. Since she was the daughter of a weapons shop owner, she had a thing for weapons. Naruto got into a stance of his own. This fight is just to see what you can do, said Lee, hoping that this wouldn't invoke any hard feeling in his new friend. Right, answered Naruto. The two shot at each other. Lee threw a punch but Naruto blocked it, and gripping the wrist threw him like a rag doll. Naruto got into stance Dragon Claw style. Dragon Barrage! Naruto took off and uppercut Lee into the air. Naruto then formed shadow clones and flew up in the air. As they flew above them they covered themselves in silver chakra. They drove downward and each slammed a fist into Lee's gut. The force of the blows sent Lee into the ground, forming a crater. As the smoke cleared, Lee was found out cold. Lee's team was shocked. This kid had just beaten one of their best members in less than 2 minutes. Well, Guy said, breaking the silence, Naruto wins. Hinata and Ino had hearts in their eyes and Kushina had a look of pride. Naruto grabbed his swords and put them in their sheaths. At this moment the girl in pink came up to him. Hi. I'm Tenten. Naruto. I was wondering where did you get those swords? She asked. They were given to me by friends. Naruto said honestly. The other hero was looking at Hinata with a look of contempt in his eyes. Naruto noticed this and sent a glare of his own at him. As Guy and his team left, Naruto faced his two teammates. Okay, let's get down to the chase, he said, taking out his swords. Who is starting first? I'll go first, said Hinata. With that the training got underway. Meanwhile, at another training ground, Minato was seeing if he was weak after being in a coma for 12 years. He formed a Rasengan and slammed it into a dummy. He was surprised when the dummy was sent flying back and smashed through the forest before a sudden stop when it hit a mountain. Apparently when Naruto woke me and my wife up he made us stronger, he thought. Very impressive. Minato turned to see some of the clan leaders of Konoha. Inoichi, Sum, Mr. Nagarashi, and Hayashi. Minato looked at his old friends. I take it this isn't for a reunion, he said. No, Sum said. At that moment Sasuke showed up with Sakura at his heel. No surprise. Not now, kid, this is a grown-up matter. Minato said, obviously not in the mood for this little twerp. Sasuke just ignored him. I want you to teach me your secrets, he said. What? All the clan heads yelled. Kid, that is not going to happen in this or any other lifetime, said an obviously angered Hayashi. You have no choice. I'm an Uchiha and elite. I deserve such secrets, he said arrogantly, with Sakura agreeing. He turned to Minato, make them teach me, and when they are done you will. Minato stormed up to him and lifted him up by the collar and looked angrily into his eyes. You won't be getting anything from them. The only reason you had pulled before was because of the civilian council. With it gone you are nothing, he growled. Don't you know who I am? Sasuke asked him in an angry voice that said he was angry that he was being refused what he wanted. No, and I don't care, he yelled, slamming his fist into Sasuke's ribs, cracking them. Now, growled, lifting him up again. Get yourself to the hospital to get those looked at, or better yet, forms a Rasengan in his palm. Let me help you. He slammed the Rasengan into Sasuke's chest and sent him flying like a rag doll across the village and into the wall of the hospital. Sakura ran off in hot pursuit of her love. What a pain. I take it this isn't the first time he did this, he said, looking at the clan heads. No, said Inoichi, he'd been wanting us to teach him our clan secrets. He's even ordered us to give him our daughter so he can revive his clan. So why do you want to see me? Minato, we wish to offer your son, Naruto, our daughters in marriage, said Sim. What? Mr. Nagarashi, Tenten's dad never learned his first name, calmed Minato down. It's only going to happen when he's old enough to marry. He will have to get to know his new brides, of course. Minato was quiet for a while. I'll ask him about it. The clan leaders left on that note. Naruto, your life just got complicated, he thought once they were gone. Chapter 6. Show of Power and Start the Chunin Exams. Naruto was heading home to his apartment when he found a small note from his dad. Naruto, meet me at the Namikaze compound, we need to talk. Love, Dad. Naruto put the note up and sped toward the clan district. When he got there his jaw nearly came dislocated. The place was huge. It had a large courtyard with a massive mansion in the back. He could see a garden, a bathhouse, a dojo, and a whole bunch of other buildings. The gate in front of the courtyard was tall and made of cast iron. It had the Namikaze symbol in the middle of the door. Naruto walked inside of the building and found his dad sitting at the table. What's going on, Pop? He asked, seeing a troubled look on his face. Naruto, I need to talk to you about something. His dad sat down and listened. We both know that because of the Clan Restoration Act you are entitled to a harem. However, you are going to have to choose your future bride sooner than I hoped you would have to. Naruto stared at his father. Why? Sasuke Uchiha. He's been making demands of the clan heads. Demands that he learn their clan secrets and have their daughters. Naruto bristled. He wants what? Naruto, Minato said, there's one way to save them from becoming his slaves. You marry them. Naruto was quiet for a moment. Meanwhile, multiple ninja ran through the village. They were dressed as A and B, but they had the kanji 4 root on their masks. They each had a sack on their shoulders. All 5 of them had done their job. At this time a 6th showed up. What is that? The leader of the group said, regarding a sack on his shoulder. Another one that may prove useful to the great Uchiha, answered the newcomer. They were about to leave when the clan heads, a team of A and B along with Guy and Kurenai, showed up. The A and B leader stepped up. You are under arrest for the crime of stealing from the clans of Konoha, he stated. Oh, I don't think so, said the leader smugly. He and his associates opened the sacks to reveal the daughters of the clan heads plus blonde woman with a Suna headband. They heard a dark chuckling and followed the sound to see Danzo and Sasuke. Those girls are mine now, Sasuke said smirking. You won't touch my children, growled an obviously enraged Hayashihira. The Root laid the girls down and looked ready to fight while Danzan took the bandages of his head to reveal the Sharingan in his left eye and Sasuke activated his Sharingan. They were all ready to brawl when, Kitsun style, burning fox pack. As the words faded, 6 large foxes made completely of fire came out of nowhere and scorched the Root members. On a plus note, the heat from the jutsu woke the hostages up. My men! Yelled Danzo. When the smoke cleared, Naruto and Minato stood in the middle of the two groups. You! Sasuke growled at Naruto. Yeah. Now if you don't mind, leave my future wives and the girl from Suna. Naruto said slowly. I and your dreams. They're mine now. So why don't you hand them over and those swords? No, then we'll take them, roared Danzo as he and Sasuke charged at him. Minato got in the way and punched Danzo in the face, sending him flying, and jumped after him. Sasuke charged at Naruto. Naruto lazily blocked each move Sasuke threw at him. Naruto hit Sasuke in the stomach, sending him back a little ways. Sasuke growled and went through hand signs fire style, fireball jutsu. He sent a massive fireball at Naruto, who just stood in front of the blast. Sasuke laughed, thinking he had won, when he was grabbed by the shoulder. He turned around just in time to see Naruto throw him over his shoulder and into the streets. Meanwhile, Danzo had seen better days. He was currently beaten up and he could barely stand. He had expected Minato to be weak after being out of commission for so long, but he had only grown stronger. Minato currently had him lifted up off the ground and was forming a Rasengan in his hand. This time though, he held it over his head. It flattened out and formed a large shuriken. Raisen Shuriken. The move collided with Danzo's body and pretty much obliterated him. That's one less headache to deal with around here, he thought. Then he turned around and ran to the village. At the village, Sasuke was being thrown around like a doll. He was racked with pain and he couldn't hardly stand. Naruto walked slowly toward him. The fight had woken up some of the villagers and some were shocked that the class dobe was beating up a prodigy. Yotsunt beat me, Sasuke panted. Naruto just drew back his fist. Dragon style. Dragon fist. Think Dragon fist from Dragon Ball GT, only silver. Naruto's fist glowed a bright silver before it released a Chinese dragon made entirely of silver chakra. The attack collided with Sasuke's body and he screamed in pain. Sasuke's body fell limp and he lost consciousness. One of the villagers growled, "How dare you strike the great Uchiha?" He rushed forward until Minato appeared in front of him. Some of the villagers grinned, thinking the demon would finally be executed. Minato glared at the man, then he picked the man up and throwing him into a nearby wall. The villagers stared, not believing that the demon of Konoha was just saved by their hero. Ignoring the stares of shocked onlookers, the two teleported. They appeared back on the hill where they found everyone waiting. Except the Suna girl. She left because her sensei came for her. So Naruto, Ino said, "What was that about us being your future wives?" Oh boy, Naruto thought. A few days later, Naruto smiled broadly. He was currently walking hand in hand with Hinata toward the tower where the first part of Chunin exams would be held. He had talked to the girls about how their parents wanted to protect them from Sasuke by betrothing them to him. To his surprise, they accepted. With Danzo dead and the civilian council gone, they didn't have to worry about being kidnapped in their sleep. Naruto finally could see a bright future ahead of him. Naruto and his team arrived at the tower and went inside. They found two guys who were a test to weed out weak genin. Naruto managed to unveil them and everyone got in on time. He and the rest of the teams were waiting for the first exam to start when Kiba came over after seeing him holding hands with Hinata. "What are you doing with Hinata dead last?" he growled. "Didn't you hear?" Naruto asked. "Hinata's going to be my wife," Kiba growled. He still thought that Hinata was his. Naruto thought, "Wait till he finds out I'm marrying his sister." Kiba was about to do something when someone walked up. He had glasses, silver hair, and a white shirt with a purple sleeveless over it. "You shouldn't make such a scene," he said. "And who are you?" Kiba asked. "The name's Kabuto," he answered. At that moment the Shino and a banged-up Sasuke showed up. Naruto was wondering how he healed so fast. He figured it was an Uchiha-loving nurse at the hospital. Kabuto continued, "I have info on just about every ninja here. They come from a lot of villages. The newest ones are from the Hidden Sound village. They are relatively new, probably a bunch of weaklings." 3 sets of eyes narrowed at Kabuto. "I want information on some people," Sasuke said. "Rock Lee, Gaara of the Desert, and Naruto Uzumaki." Kabuto took out 3 cards from his back pocket. Rock Lee, he read, specialty is taijutsu, suffers from a medical condition that keeps him from molding chakra correctly, has been on some D-ranked and C-ranked missions. He pulled out the second card, Gaara of the Desert. Not much here. Says he's from the Hidden Sand village, and he's been on some A-ranked missions and didn't get a scratch. Naruto was surprised when he heard this. He looked around until he saw a team from Suna. He recognized the girl and saw she was with a guy with purple war paint on his face, black clothes and a bandaged sack on his back. There also was a guy in red and brown with red hair, bags under his eyes, love and kanji over his eye, and a gourd on his back. Naruto felt something in him. He sensed the Ichibi in his body but someone else as well. He'd have to look at that later. As Kabuto looked at Naruto's card, the image of a golden dragon and a red fox appeared and it burst into red and gold flames. What happened? Sasuke growled, losing his chance to learn about Naruto. I don't know, Kabuto answered truthfully, but he must have had some pretty intense stuff to do that to his card. At that moment Naruto sensed something. 3 ninja were heading toward Kabuto. One was completely bandaged except for one of his eyes with a purple long-sleeved shirt that covered his arms completely. The second had spiky hair and a yellow shirt over a long black-sleeved. The third was a girl with long black hair. Each of them had a headband that had a musical note on it. They were from the Sound Village. Naruto jumped in the way to keep the bandaged one from punching Kabuto. He caught his wrist just in time and flung him across the room. The spiky-haired one took out a kunai and tried to throw it, but Naruto kicked it out of his hand and punched him in the face. The girl tried reaching for something, but Naruto drew both his swords and crossed them in front of her throat, stopping her cold. Everyone in the room froze. This kid had just stopped 3 ninja without even breaking a sweat. Back off, Naruto growled, sending a chill down the girl's spine. Oh, and Kabuto, that information you gave Sasuke is confidential. You're lucky I don't report you. The rest of the ninjas stared. Some of the girls in the room had stars in their eyes since Naruto was exceptionally handsome to them. Even the Sound Girl stared. Gaara had an interested look on his face. The other 2 shivered. They knew once you got his attention it was a bad thing. The bandaged Sound Nin got up. Who are you? He asked, slightly scared. Naruto Uzumaki. And let me tell you, all of you, if you mess with someone from my village, sword ignite with gold and red fire, you'll regret it. Naruto noticed a bit of black flame in the middle of the gold and red. He'd ask the fox and dragon about that later. Then there was a large plume of smoke. A man in a black trench coat and a leaf village headband appeared. All right, you maggots. My name is Ibiki Moroni. I'm the proctor for the first part of the Chunin exams. So shut up and get moving, he yelled, obviously trying to get everyone moved along. Chapter 7. Start the exams. The teams all filed into a room with a chalkboard and a desk at the front of the room. Everyone took a seat and waited for the proctor to start. The rules for the first exam are simple, he stated. You have to take a written test. There are only 10 questions. You are given 9 questions on the paper. The final question will be revealed in the final hour. If you are caught cheating, you will be disqualified along with your team. If you don't get the 10th question right, you and your team will be disqualified. Everyone tensed up. If one of the kids on the teams messed up, the whole team would be disqualified. Ready? Begin. You have 2 hours until the final question. The team started. Everyone did the one thing they could do, cheat. Tenten used nearly invisible strings to move mirrors to give the answers to her teammates. Shino used a bug to gather the information from others. Kiba's dog, Akamaru, looked at the answers of others and gave the answers to his master. Gaara made a third eye with his sand and copied answers. Ino used her mind transfer jutsu to steal Sakura's answers since she was smart. Sasuke just used his Sharingan to copy the pencil movements of another student. Naruto didn't need to use jutsu to cheat. Elian and Kyuubi gave him answers mentally. As he waited, he noticed Hinata was nervous. He knew what her family thought of her, and that she was nervous she would get them disqualified. Naruto knew he had to help her. He decided to. He focused his chakra and summoned a small blue fox with an X-shaped scar on its forehead and 4 tails. I need you to go comfort the white-eyed girl for me, he mentally commanded, which was easy since he could communicate mentally with foxes thanks to Kyuubi. Her name is Hinata. Yes, master. The small fox went over to the nervous girl. She was pretty scared until she felt something soft and furry rub against her. She looked down to see a small fox snuggling against her stomach. My name is Ryu, it spoke. My master sent me here to comfort you. He wasn't very specific on how, but it looks like cuddling you is working. Hinata smiled. Even now he comforted her. Meanwhile Naruto was having a little talk with the fox and dragon. Hey, what was that thing with the black flame earlier? He asked. Elian answered, it seems that the colliding energies of my chakra and the fox's chakra formed a new energy, that black flame. He heard Kyuubi chuckle. Looks like we got a new weapon, kiddo. As the hours rolled by, more and more teams were eliminated. The only left so far were the Konoha teams, a grass team, the Suna group, the sound team and 2 rain teams. Okay, yelled Ibiki, the final question shall be given, but you have another option. Everyone listened. You can ignore it, but if you do, you will be eliminated, but your team will continue. Those of you who want to back out now, raise your hand. No one did anything. The only person who raised his hand was Naruto. You want to back out? Yeah. Those who put themselves before the mission are scum, but those who will sacrifice his team for the mission are worse. That is what I live by. I can give up, but my team will go on. Everyone seemed to take Naruto's words to heart. Ibiki smirked. In that case, I'd like to say to everyone in this room, you pass. Everyone's jaws nearly hit the floor. What? Temari yelled. The point of this exam was to see if you could gather information without getting caught. Getting information is an important part of the mission, but if you give the mission up just to save your own skin, you don't deserve to be alive. He took off his headband to reveal a large amount of scars and puncture wounds on his head. I learned that years ago. Good luck in the next part of the exam, you're gonna need it. At that moment something burst through the window. As the smoke cleared, it revealed Zabuza and a woman. She had purple hair tied up to where it looked like a pineapple. She had on an orange skirt, a brown trench coat with a fishnet shirt. "All right, you maggots," she yelled. "My name is Anko Mitarashi. This is Zabuza Momochi. We're the proctors for the second part of the exam." Zabuza just crossed his arms and gave everyone a death look that scared everyone except Naruto. "All right," Zabuza growled. "Meet us tomorrow at noon for the second half at the training fields." With that they vanished. The next day, Naruto was a little nervous. It was a few hours till the second part of the Chunin exams, and he had been called by ANBU to the tower for the first. As he entered, he saw Ibiki along with his father, and a team of ANBU. "What's up?" he asked as he entered. "We have a concern," Minato said. "What?" "Your test," Ibiki stated. "You got every answer right, and your tests for the academy show you didn't get most of the stuff." "Care to explain?" Naruto just smiled. "I've gotten a lot smarter over the past few weeks." Minato grinned while Ibiki looked confused. "Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna be late for the second part." "Alien," he thought. "Is there a way I can get there quickly?" "Yes, focus my chakra into your back. You should be able to grow wings," answered the dragon. Naruto did that and silver chakra wings sprouted. They were in the shape of dragon wings and were 10 feet from tip to tip. Naruto rushed to the window and burst through it, flying off at full speed to meet the deadline. Ibiki growled. "I just got that fixed form Anko's and Zabuza's fiasco the other day." "Sir," one of the ANBU said, "that proves he's a demon. The fox must be getting control. Just give me the order and I'll..." He didn't finish his sentence as Minato sent him crashing through a few walls and into the streets. "Idiots," he thought, "soon they will know who he is and what he can do." Minato grinned. He could see the faces of the villagers when they found out his true name, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Chapter 8, Forest of Death. The other teams were at the entrance of a large forest. The place was blocked by a wire fence, and some of the other teams were getting restless. Naruto hadn't shown up, so Ino and Hinata were slightly nervous. Others, however, were getting impatient waiting for the blonde. Sasuke was grinning, thinking Naruto had chickened out. Kiba walked over to Hinata. "Looks like he isn't gonna show," he said smugly. "Just wait," she said, "he'll come." Kiba grinned. "Come on, Hinata. Stop playing hard to get. You know you want me." He put his arm around her waist and pulled her in close. In response, she brought her knee and hit him right where the sun don't shine. "I'm only saying this once," she growled, staring him in the eye, leaking killing intent. "I am Naruto's. I am not yours. I will never be yours. So go find some other girl to bother." Kiba finally got up and walked away, nursing his pride and hoping he wasn't sterile. Ino approached her teammate. "All right. Way to show that jerk who's boss," she yelled, causing Hinata to blush. "I just wanted to get the message across," she said in an embarrassed voice. "Not bad," said a familiar voice. The girls turned to see a smirking Sasuke. "I have to ask," he said, "why do you hang around that loser Naruto? He's a no-name loser. Why don't you leave him for a real man?" Ino scowled. "Naruto is more man than you'll ever be," she said in a clear, obviously annoyed tone, "and furthermore, you aren't a man. You are just a whiny, spoiled brat. You just expect anyone to give you what they want. They should, including you," he said, leering at her. "Hate to burst your bubble, but I'm engaged to Naruto too, along with the other girls you tried to kidnap and force to wed. So you can't have me." Sasuke scowled. "Then I'll take you." He reached out to grab her but was intercepted by a massive silver claw. The force of the blow sent him flying into a tree. Everyone looked at the source of the noise to see a dragon made of silver chakra. I threw back its head and roared in anger. Then it vanished, Naruto in its place. "So," he said nonchalantly, "what did I miss?" 10 minutes later, the teams stood at separate gates of the forest. The Forest of Death, Anko called it. They had to get a scroll from another team under a time limit of 3 days. The hard part was that they didn't know what kind of scroll the other teams had, so you had to go on instinct and pray that you got lucky. Plus you had to deal with whatever the heck lived in this place, so good luck with that. As soon as the clock struck noon, Naruto, Ino and Hinata shot off into the woods. As did all of the other teams. Naruto and his team stopped a few feet in and started to plan. "So," Naruto stated, "what are we going to do? We need to find someone with a heaven scroll to go with our earth scroll." Ino stating the obvious, "Maybe we can find one of the other teams from the village, because I don't want to fight someone from here." "Yeah," said Hinata, agreeing. At that moment there was a loud explosion. All 3 of them ran for it. They followed the sound to find Sasuke, Kiba, Shino, Sakura, Shikamaru and Chuji going up against the grass Nin. She was tall, pale and had long black hair. Sasuke was on the ground holding a spot on his neck where a strange mark was starting to grow. Naruto narrowed his eyes, but then he heard Kyuubi snarl. "That's him," growled the fox. "What's up, big guy?" Naruto asked. Kyuubi growled again. "Kid, do you know why I attacked the village? I lived on Earth for years until I came to my home to find my mate and my pups murdered. A leaf ninja headband was there, so I went there to get revenge. The headband smelled of snake, and so does this guy. That is no grass ninja, that is Orochimaru." As soon as Naruto heard that, his blood started to boil. He knew this guy was a traitor. He turned to Hinata and whistled. As soon as he did, Ryu crawled out of Hinata's jacket. Apparently Hinata didn't want the little fellow to leave. "Ryu, go get the Kage and a lot of ANBU," he ordered. Ryu nodded slightly and ran off. Kyubi snarled again. Kid, I want to get back at this guy for what he did to my family. You can set me free from the seal, but it will only last until that snake is dead. Drive my sword into the ground and say Kyubi awake from the dreamless sleep. Naruto smirked and ran forward into the fray before him. Orochimaru, still in his disguise, faced him. Well, look what we have here. Drop the axe, you snake-faced freak. I know who you are, Orochimaru. Orochimaru smirked slightly, and in a poof of smoke took his real form. He was tall, pale, and had long black hair. He chuckled. So you think you can beat me, little boy? He licked his lips with an extra long tongue. Naruto chuckled this time. Who said I would kick your butt? He drew Kyubi's sword and drove it into the ground, then he stepped back and said, Kyubi awake from the dreamless sleep. As soon as those words left his lips, the sword let out a burst of red chakra. It swirled around and then focused on point behind the sword. What is this power? Orochimaru thought as the chakra burst. When the smoke cleared, it revealed a man. He was tall and muscular, covered head to toe in black armor. The helmet had two curved iron horns coming out of the sides like the devil. When his eyes opened, they glowed like burning embers. The human Kyubi looked at Orochimaru and chuckled darkly, then he grabbed the sword by the hilt and raised it up and yelled, I'm back. Meanwhile, Minato was having a discussion with the other clan heads at the Nara compound. They were discussing when Minato would reveal Naruto to be his son. Just as things were coming to a close, something shot through the window. All of them looked ready to fight when they saw it was just a blue four-tailed fox. Shikamaru's dad, don't know his name either, was about to say something when his wife showed up. Honey, what's going? She started to ask when she saw the fox. AW. So cute. She picked it and started crushing it in a killer hug. Could you let go of me, please? Ryu managed to get out. This made her scream and drop the little fellow. It talks? How can it talk? That isn't possible, is it? Easy, Minato stated, trying to calm the woman down. His name is Ryu. He's one of Naruto's summons. He turned to the small fox. What's going on? He asked. We have a little problem. Meanwhile, Orochimaru could have sworn this was a nightmare. He was standing face to face with the Kyubi himself. If it weren't for the fact that he was standing in front of kids, he would start shaking. So you overgrown rattler, the demon growled, you ready to die? The snake chuckled, you will be the one dying. With that said, Orochimaru lunged at Kyubi. The demon blocked his punch and sent him flying with a kick to the stomach. Kyubi laughed and raced after him, grabbing him by the throat and dragging him off to where they could fight in peace. What was all Shikamaru could say. The rest of the guys, except Naruto, were in complete shock. What just happened? Asked Sakura after the initial shock wore off. Naruto summoned a demonic-looking man with his sword, and he just dragged the snake man off into the forest to fight him. Sakura stared at him, and then at Naruto, who just shrugged. You'd get used to it, was all Naruto said. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, Orochimaru was thrown into a tree by Kyubi. The snake couldn't believe it, he was actually scared. He grinned viciously. That power. If I can absorb his body, I can truly become a god. Hunger for power at its finest, folks. Orochimaru reached into his mouth and pulled out the Nasanji. He charged at Kyubi, who blocked it with his own sword. Kyubi then jumped up and brought it down on the Nasanji. The result was the sword being split in two. Orochimaru knew he had to call them. To me, sound Ninja 5. As he finished those words, 5 ninjas showed up. A fat guy, a red-headed woman, a guy with 4 arms, a guy with a second body coming out of his back, and an albino guy with a dagger made of bone. Kyubi grinned under his helmet. Now you're making it interesting. Back with the teams. Naruto was wondering what was taking Kyubi so long. He was about to see if he could help him when he sensed a powerful energy surge. He and everyone else faced it to see Sasuke giving off purple chakra. As he got up, they saw strange marking all over his body. Sasuke looked at his hands and started to laugh. This power, he said, this power is what I've been looking for. I can finally kill him. He looked at Naruto. But first I want to get rid of a small pain in the butt. Sasuke charged at Naruto but missed him by a hair. Naruto drew Elian's sword and yelled out, Dragon Style, Dragon Claw. The sword burst into flames and Naruto sent them at Sasuke, who barely dodged the attack. They both charged at each other and ended up grappling. The two pushed, trying to get a leg up on the other, when Sasuke suddenly backed off. He started clutching his head in pain and started to scream. The marks on his body started to vanish. What the? Naruto thought. A few minutes earlier with Kyubi. Kyubi was staring at the sound ninja that had him surrounded when all of a sudden the clan heads showed up. Orochimaru was shocked when he saw Minato among them, since he thought he was dead. The clan heads fought off the sound ninja and managed to knock them out. Minato faced Orochimaru, and Kyubi leapt to his side. It's been a while, you old fox. Minato stated. Yes, it has, Kyubi said in a monotone voice. Orochimaru just snarled and tried to attack, but Kyubi held out a hand. Demonic style, chains of oblivion. Chains shot out the ground and wrapped around Orochimaru's arms, legs, neck and torso. As soon they made contact, he felt an incredible pain. Surprised? Kyubi asked. Those chains are pumping Yukai into your body. It's severing you chakra coils and destroying your body. Even you can't regenerate that much. Let's end this, Minato. Both warriors held out their hands and formed a single Rasengan. This one though was made of red chakra and was twice as big. They both crouched and shot forward and called out, "Demonic Rasengan." As the move made contact, Orochimaru screamed out in pain. After a few seconds there wasn't even ashes left of his body. As soon as he died the sound ninja started to scream. Minato examined they to see the curse marks on their necks vanishing. They also heard screaming from somewhere else. They followed the noise to see the kids with Sasuke who was on his knees. Minato could just barely make out a fading curse mark. Sasuke growled as he saw Kyuubi and Minato. "My power. Give me back my power." He charged only to meet a backhand by Minato into a tree. After everyone was checked for injuries, Ino had to ask, "So now what?" Minato answered, "Well, seeing what you've been through, I'd say that you passed the second part of the exam." Everyone grinned and looked happy about it except Sasuke, who was unconscious, and Sakura, who was mad. "Aren't you going to punish him?" Sakura asked, pointing at Kyuubi. "Why should I?" asked the Kage. He heard Sasuke. She didn't finish her sentence because she was sent flying by a kick from Naruto. Kyuubi just laughed, then he turned to chakra and flew back into the seal on Naruto. As everyone headed to the tower, Hinata pulled Naruto to the side. "When we get to the tower," she whispered, "you are going to explain this to me and the rest of your future wives." With that said, she left with Naruto following her, grinning. Chapter 9. Explanations and Preliminaries. After the teams made their way into the tower, they felt a little relieved. They wouldn't have to worry about being killed, and they had some time to relax a bit. After an hour of relaxing, everyone who saw the incident pulled Naruto aside. With them were their senseis who had been informed of what had happened in the forest. "So Naruto," Hinata said, her arms crossed, "what was that in the forest earlier?" The others looked at him with curiosity, especially Sasuke and Sakura. Naruto pointed at Sakura, Sasuke and Kiba. "You three. Out. This is for people I trust alone," he ordered. Sasuke smirked. "I'm an Uchiha. I deserve to know what that power was. Besides, any secret you have can be of use to me." Sakura and Kiba stayed put until Minato picked them up by the collars and threw them out of the room. Naruto faced his friends. "It started on the day I was born," he started. Everyone listened intently. "The same day I was born was the day that the Kyuubi attacked." Everyone gasps. As it turns out, he wasn't attacking as spite, he was trying to avenge its wife and pups when he found them killed in his home. "You were told that the Kyuubi was destroyed by the fourth, right?" Everyone nodded. "This isn't the truth." They all stared at Naruto. The demon was in fact sealed inside of a newborn baby. Hinata looked nervous. "Who was it?" she asked. "Me." Everyone looked as if they were watching a horror movie. "Why would the fourth do that?" Shikamaru said after a few moments of stunned silence. "That was a mistake on my part," said the Hokage, grief in his voice. "I actually expected the village to treat him like a hero for keeping the demon at bay." Tears actually started to form on his face. "What did they do?" To answer them, Naruto lifted up his shirt. Everyone gasped at the sight of the scars and wounds that covered his body. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Even Shino had tears running down his face. "How?" Shikamaru asked with tears running down his face. "How can they still call themselves human?" Hinata was on the ground bawling. Naruto picked her up in his arms and held her until she stopped crying. "By the way, Naruto," Hinata asked, "how did you get that silver chakra?" Naruto actually smiled at that. "I think you should talk to the one that gave me that power." He drew Elion's sword and drove it into the floor. Elion awake from the dreamless sleep. As soon as those words were uttered, the sword exploded in silver chakra. It swirled and flashed until it focused and formed a figure. A man stood in completely silver armor with a gold trim. His helmet was like Kyuubi's, only his didn't have horns and his eyes were a shining gold. "Guys," Naruto said, "this is Elion, king of the dragons." Elion gave a deep bow. "For those of you who want to know, I am the reason behind Hat Gold and Silver Chakra." Everyone listened. My eyes have seen a great deal of things, including how Naruto was treated over his life. When he didn't turn his back on his village, I knew I found someone to take my power. Only one pure of heart can take it. When I found Naruto's body in the river after the betrayal, I picked him from the river and carried him to my cave. His wound had healed thanks to Kyuubi, but if he had taken his power alone, he could have been corrupted, so I gave him some of my power, as a deal we made. He gets Kyuubi's strength, and he doesn't become corrupt. Everyone was shell-shocked at this news, but Hinata had a question. "Why didn't you give him your power earlier?" Elion chuckled slightly. "How would it look if a dragon came down and gave his power to the alleged demon of a village?" Hinata nodded, understanding. "Now that we have an understanding, I would like to have a word with Naruto in private." So would Kyuubi. Everyone got the message and filed out. As they left, Sasuke and Sakura stared in awe at Elion. Sasuke was about to go in and order something to Elion if Guy hadn't dragged him. Naruto took out Kyuubi's sword and brought him out. "So what is it you guys wanted to talk about?" he asked. Elion had a serious look in his golden eyes. "Naruto, when you accepted our power, you got more than you thought." Naruto looked at his ally. "When you accepted our power, you also got a dojutsu from us both." Naruto's eyes went wide. "I got a what from both of you?" he asked/yelled. "Calm yourself, Kit," Kyuubi said, trying to calm the kid down. After a few minutes, Naruto was calm enough to ask something. "So what are they and what can they do?" Both Elion and Kyuubi grinned. Well, Kyubi started, mine is the Kitsune. Your eye will turn red like it does when you're angry, but this is more of a flame red and it will change shades like a lava lamp, and the pupil will be orange. With it you can cast the powerful genjutsu. This kind can lead to the death of a person if the jutsu is strong enough. Naruto had to admit he was impressed. So what is yours? He asked Elian. Mine, he responded, is the dragon eye. Your iris will turn a bright green with a silver slit pupil, and the whites will turn gold. You will also have 3 stars and the iris also silver. This dojutsu will allow you to copy any move you see from ninjutsu to taijutsu to kikei genkai. Naruto was in disbelief powerful genjutsus, and the ability to copy any technique. Man, this was just getting better and better. Now I suggest you get going, your friends are waiting. Elian said smiling. The two turned back to Chakra and flew back to Naruto. After they merged, Naruto took off toward his friends. As soon as Naruto arrived, things got underway. Before they started, they found out someone had to quit. In the end, Kabuto did. Alright, said the Hokage. Naruto noticed he was with the proctors for the first 2 exams and all the senseis. Since so many of you have passed the second part of the exam, we will have to have some preliminary rounds before the final part. You will be randomly selected from the computer, and your names will be put up on the screen. Those not fighting will be up in the banister to avoid being hurt. After he finished speaking, the computer started selecting names. The first was Sakura Haruno versus Ino Yamanaka. Zabuza went down into the arena and called the 2 down. The 2 girls entered the ring and Sakura started mouthing off. Just give up, Ino pig. Sasuke is mine. Ino chuckled, you want him? You can have him. Sakura's jaw along with the jaws of her former teammates, and Sensei hit the floor. What? Sakura asked. Ino chuckled again. I've found someone who is actually worth going after. Sasuke is just a spoiled punk who thinks he deserves everything he's been given. He's just a major weakling. Sakura got angry that her love was just insulted. She charged and threw a punch before Zabuza started the match, which of course disqualified her. To her surprise, Ino caught it, and with the slightest of strength threw her across the room, forming a crater in the opposite wall. Gain, Asuma, and Kurenai looked at Kushina. What? She asked. All that was his basic chakra control. They stared at Ino, who had a victorious smile on her face. Winner Ino Yamanaka. Zabuza stated. The next set of names were Sasuke's and a rain ninjas. When the 2 started fighting, Sasuke found out he could drain chakra by touching him. Sasuke actually managed to get the upper hand and used a powerful taijutsu move. Naruto swore he heard Lee growl. What's up, bushy brow? He asked. That, Lee said, is my taijutsu move. Naruto looked at Sasuke, who now stood over his defeated opponent. The next match was Tenten against Temari. Tenten lost because of Temari's wind attacks and ended up getting brought down onto Temari's iron fan. Shikamaru went against Kin from the Sound Village. He won since he tricked her with his shadow possession jutsu and caused her to slam her own head into the wall. Shino had the pleasure of fighting Zaku. Zaku lost because Shino had plugged up these vents in his arms that let him fire sonic waves. In the process, they also destroyed his arms. Kankuro went against the rain ninja, who could dislocate his joints to make himself incredibly flexible. He cracked Kankuro's neck, but the one he cracked was a puppet. The real Kankuro was in the sack on his back. In the end, the rain ninja had his neck broken. Then came the moment Naruto had been waiting for. It was his turn to fight, and his opponent was Kiba. Ha ha ha! All right, Kiba yelled. Finally I can show everyone how weak he is. Let's go, Akamaru. He turned to his partner to see he was cowering. What's wrong, boy? Bark, bark, yip, there's something strange about him? Bark, yip, whimper, what do you mean you don't want to fight? Naruto, who was in the ring, already yelled up, you coming down, dog breath? Kiba yelled back while trying to pry Akamaru off a bar that he was clinging to with his teeth. Yeah, in a minute. 5 minutes, and a few failed attempts later. Kiba had finally gotten into the ring, but he didn't have Akamaru. The dog was sitting in the banister with his team. Sorry, someone didn't want to come down. He glared at his partner. You two ready? Zabuza asked. They both nodded. Begin. Kiba charged forward, his nails sharpened using his family's fighting style. Naruto just dodged it lazily. After a few misses, Kiba was starting to get annoyed. Stop running and fight like a man, he roared. Naruto just smirked, annoying Kiba even more. Naruto caught Kiba's claw and then the other one. What are you trying to prove? Naruto asked. Kiba grunted as he tried to wrestle out of Naruto's grip. I'm trying to prove that you're just a weakling. Hinata deserves better than you. She's mine and I plan on making her mine. Bad choice of words. Everyone in the room was glaring at Kiba, especially the girls. They were disgusted that he thought he of all people deserved her. Kiba suddenly had trouble breathing. Then he realized that Naruto was leaking killing intent on him. What did you say? Naruto growled in a demonic voice. He punched Kiba in the face. I thought Hinata made it clear earlier. Sure's never bears. Between each word, Naruto slammed a powerful fist into Kiba's chest. After Naruto calmed down, he looked down at Kiba's wounded form. Give up, Kiba. Kiba just laughed despite the pain he was in. Ha! You just don't want me to get up and beat you. Naruto hung his head at the foolishness this kid showed. Fine then, Naruto said and leapt backwards and went through hand signs and extended his arms, his hands open. Silver, red and gold chakra started to mix together, forming a black orb in Naruto's open hands. Black fire style, chakra cannon. The blast shot forward and hit Kiba dead on. You could hear Kiba's screams of pain. The blast went straight through the wall. When the smoke cleared, everyone saw that Kiba was still alive, but had a lot of broken bones. Winner, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto smirked and climbed up to the banister. He noticed the senseis were looking at him nervously and kids questioningly. The black chakra is from all the other chakra mixing together, he said simply. Everyone just shrugged. Meanwhile, Hinata went down to give Kiba, who had regained consciousness, some healing medicine. As she left, he grabbed Hinata's arm. Hinata, he groaned, if you go against that other sand ninja or your cousin drop out. Hinata just looked at him. I am not the weak little girl I once was, she said and turned away. As she did, Kiba tried to pull her down to kiss her, but she caught herself and gave him another juken strike to the crotch. As she left, she growled, he just never learns. Kurenai noticed this, and so did Naruto. Both made a mental note to tell him Mom. Well, boy, was he gonna be in trouble. The next match was between Rock Lee and Gaara. The match started off with Lee attacking but getting blocked by Gaara's sand. After a little bit, Lee took off weights he had on his legs. He moved all the faster and managed to get past Gaara's sand, but when he tried a move called the primary lotus, Gaara switched with a sand clone and avoided getting crushed. Lee started opening the chakra gates, parts of the body that hold great amounts of chakra. When he did, he had green aura and his skin turned red. He was a blur to all who watched, but he couldn't keep it up. Eventually he became exhausted, especially when he used the hidden lotus, an advanced form of the primary lotus. Gaara survived it, and using his sand crushed Lee's arm and leg. He would have been killed if Guy hadn't gotten in the way and saved him. Gaara won by default, and from the looks on everyone's faces, they were scared, especially his sensei, brother and sister. The next match was between Hinata and Neji. They both used the Juken style, but Neji seemed to get more hits in. Soon enough, Hinata was coughing up blood. Naruto growled loudly enough for everyone in the banister to hear him. Some of the girls actually seemed jealous. With Hinata, she could barely stand. She was scared but still stood up. Why do you get back up? Asked a voice in her head. It was soft and warm, like a mother speaking to her child. Why don't you just give up? Hinata groaned as she rose up. I will prove myself to him. I will show him that I am not weak, that I deserve his love. The voice fell silent, then she heard it laugh. I like you, kid. Now let's show him what we can do. The next thing everyone knew, there was a flash of bright blue chakra from Hinata. When it faded, no one saw a change in Hinata until she opened her eyes. Her Byakugan, instead of its regular white, was now a light blue. She took out a scroll from her pocket, bit her thumb and ran it over the scroll. In a puff of smoke she took out a silver lance. Neji didn't see this as a problem. He thought she didn't have any experience with it, and that the chakra and her Byakugan change was an illusion. He rushed forward, intent on killing her, but in a flash she hit in the stomach with a Juken strike and drew back her lance, which glowed a slight blue, and said, Angel Strike. When the move made contact, instead of piercing Neji's gut, it slammed into his stomach, sending him flying across the room. When the smoke cleared, it showed he was unconscious, hurt, but unconscious. Everyone was staring at her. What are you teaching her? Kurenai asked Kushina. I taught her to use the lance. I didn't modify her Keikai Genkai. Kushina responded. Naruto chuckled. It's called the Angel Byakugan, he said simply. Everyone stared at him. Elian told me. He said that it is an ancient version of the Byakugan that has its own jutsu that goes with it, and it's at least 5 times more powerful than the original. Everyone was shocked at the power Hinata held. Naruto, however, was worried. Knowing the Hyuga Council, they were going to try to make her give up those eyes. In the arena, a medical team had arrived to take Neji away, but Hinata stopped them. Neji looked at her, one of his eyes shut in pain. Are you going to kill him? He asked. Hinata didn't reply and removed his headband. This showed a green X and markings on his forehead. It was the caged bird seal. The seal, the main branch of the Hyuga, used to control the minor branch. She placed her hand on it, and blue chakra flowed through Neji's forehead. Then the seal vanished. As it did, Neji felt a burden lifted off his shoulders. As Hinata turned to leave, Neji called out, Hinata! She turned to face him. Thank you, he said, a smile on his face. She smiled back. The final match was between Dosu and Chuji. Dosu called Chuji fat, which was a bad idea on his part. Chuji used the expansion jutsu to grow to a large size. Then he tucked his head, arms and legs in and rolled forward using the human boulder jutsu. Dosu dodged it easily and Chuji crashed into a wall. While he was stuck, Dosu rolled up a long sleeve to reveal a device on his arm. He placed his arm on Chuji and flicked it. The result was a sound wave that knocked him out. After Dosu was declared the winner, the fights for the final part of the exams were shown and are as follows. Naruto vs. Dosu, Shino vs. Kankuro, Temari vs. Shikamaru, Gaara vs. Sasuke, Hinata vs. winner of first match. Naruto eyes bugged out. If he won his match, he would have to fight his love. This stinks, he thought. Alright, does everyone remember who you're fighting? Minato asked. Good. Now you have 1 month to prepare for the final part of the exam. Everyone started to head for the door when Minato stopped Naruto. I want to talk to you about something, he said and pulled Naruto off to the side. Naruto was wondering what his dad wanted to talk about. Whatever it was, he hoped it was good. Chapter 10, Training and Plans. As the teams left, Naruto stood in front of his father. What's up, big man? He asked. Minato looked at his son seriously. Naruto, he said, I think I should let you know that I'll be telling the village who you are come the final part of the exam. I know that some of them will deny it, but they will realize their impudence. Naruto nodded, understanding that it was time for the village to know the real him, his real name. Thanks for letting me know, Pops. No, I have to go find Hinata and then start training for the finals. Naruto started to leave when he heard his father say, I thought you would say that. Naruto faced his dad. I know someone who can. He'll be at a waterfall on the other side of the village. Be there tomorrow at noon. Naruto nodded and took off. Minato grinned as his son left. Oh, is he in for a surprise? He thought to himself. Later, Naruto was walking through the streets of Konoha, ignoring the angry glares at him, when he suddenly felt a powerful chakra surge coming from the Hyuga complex. He mentally sighed, yeah, that figures. Naruto took off like a shot toward the complex, knowing full ahead what awaited him. When Naruto arrived at the Hyuga complex, he saw Hinata, her angel Byakugan, blazing, surrounded by main and lower branch Hyuga members alike, along with the Hyuga council. He figured that the lower branch were being controlled by the caged bird seal. After Hinata had released Niji from it, he asked Elion about it. To say he was mad when he found out how they treated the lower branch was an understatement. That was when he noticed two things. One, Hayashi wasn't there. That was probably how the Hyuga council was getting away with this. The second thing that was strange was Hinata's appearance. She had a rare look of rage on her face, and she had blue chakra wings on her back. Naruto knew from what Elion told him that only happened when a wielder of the angel Byakugan was angry or called on their real power. Naruto quickly intervened and knocked away the branch members. What is the meaning of this? Naruto growled. A Hyuga council member answered him. This does not concern you, demon. Naruto glared at him. If it involves my Hime, it becomes my business. The Hyuga members were about to attack when Hinata sent out a wave of chakra. Then, to the surprise of the main branch, the lower branch turned on them. What's going on? Asked one of the council members. I released them from the caged bird seal. Hinata answered, a grin on her face. The council member growled. Then you have betrayed your clan. Then a new voice said, no, she hasn't. Everyone turned toward the voice to see Minato with Hayashi. An old councilman smiled. Good, you're here, Hayashi. Now carve out your daughter's eyes so we can give them to someone worthy. Hayashi walked up to the man and backhanded him in the face. At that moment, Anbu showed up. Minato faced the Hyuga council. Hyuga council, you are hereby under arrest for attacking a leaf ninja and for conspiring against the village. The Hyuga council looked shocked. But we did no such thing, said council member nervously. Minato took out a contract and handed it to Hayashi, who read it. As he did, he grew angry. This is a document stating that the Kumo ninja were allowed to take Hinata. You were going to let them take my daughter to their village to give them the Byakugan? A councilman looked at Hayashi. That is the only use your daughter will ever have. She is weak, useless, and a demon whore. As soon as that word left his mouth, Naruto drove a sword through his heart. Minato looked at his son, and then at the Anbu. Take these traitors to the prison in chakra cuffs and tell Ibiki and Anko that they are allowed to play with them. As the Hyuga council was taken away, Hinata returned to her normal state and hugged Naruto tight. So what was that about me being your Hime? Naruto blushed slightly. Well, Hinata didn't let Naruto finish. She leaned in and kissed him right on the lips. Naruto wrapped his arms around her waist and kissed her back. A slight cough broke them apart. Minato was grinning at his son. You can suck face later, you two. Right now I think Hinata needs to work on her angel Byakugan techniques. Hayashi nodded and presented a scroll with angel written in kanji. Well, at least we don't have to worry about those pains in the neck, Naruto said, smiling. Yeah, Hinata said, but we still have to deal with the mongrel. Naruto grinned again and took her into his arms. Don't worry about that, I think he'll learn his lesson. Hinata looked at Naruto curiously. I went to his mom with a file in the Hokage's office. Meanwhile, with Kiba. Kiba had just entered the Inuzuka complex when he was seized. He was about to call out when he realized that he was being attacked by his own clansmen. He was brutally dragged to a chamber where his mother and sister were waiting. What the heck is going on? Kiba asked, a scowl on his face. Sim just walked right up to him and slapped him across the face. You little runt, she growled. Kiba was wondering what she was so mad about, and then he noticed the file in her hand. Oh no, he thought. Sim lifted him up by the collar of his jacket. I can't believe that I ever considered you for clan heir. I thought you were better than this. She dropped him on his butt. Come on, Mom, he said, scared. I was just trying to ensure that Hinata would be my woman. Hana got in his face this time. By trying to force yourself on her? Kiba actually grinned. Yeah? The only way to ensure dominance is to make it clear that you call the shots. This got him a punch in the face from Hana. Sim lifted him up again. You don't just rape women, Kiba. Women have thoughts and feeling too, you know. Kiba actually laughed when his mother said this. You kidding, right? All women are good for his cooking, cleaning, and for a man's entertainment. And when a man is done with her, he can just throw her away. Apparently Kiba forgot this was his mother and sister he was talking to. His clan got a low growl from both his mom and sister along with a few others. It was then that Kiba looked around and saw that the ones who captured him were the female members of the clan. It was then that he realized that he was in deep crud. Sim snarled at her so-called child. And you think that you deserve Hinata? She asked, anger still present in her voice. Yeah. Naruto probably only wants her for her money. Plus he is just a no-name baka who has the Hokage's favor. She deserves better than him. Sim raised an eyebrow, and by better you mean you? She asked. Kiba just nodded. She does. He's just some loser, Hana grinned. Maybe, but at least he knows how to treat a woman. Kiba looked at his sister incredulously. How would you know that? He asked. Hana smiled again. I'm going to marry him, and so are Hinata, Tenten, Ino, and Hanabi. Kiba's jaw practically hit the floor. What? He yelled. You heard her, Sim said with a smirk on her face. She's marrying Naruto along with a bunch of the other girls. Kiba was shocked. That dope was going to get a harem. Had Kami forsaken him? Sim looked at her son. Now onto your punishment. Kiba paled. He knew his mom was very strict and vicious when it came to punishments. Especially when they were considered perverted. He heard that some guy had peeped on her, and ran away. They were in the shower. They say that he lost all his teeth, and they had ended his life as a person, and as a man. Kiba shivered in fear. For punishment for trying to steal another man's woman you will be beaten for 15 hours. And as punishment for multiple rape attempts you are hereby dropped as clan heir and are now banished from the pack. Kiba looked at his mother horrified as she took out a piece of metal and heated it. Kiba looked around until he saw Akamaru. Akamaru, help me please, he called out. The dog just stood there, then he turned and left the room. Why didn't he help me? Kiba asked his mom, who had just finished heating the metal. He has denounced you as his master and combat partner. She explained, I guess he just got sick of your attitude. She lifted Kiba into the light and brought the metal to his face. As part of the banishment from the clan he would have the marks on his cheeks burned off. Mom, please don't do this, Kiba whimpered, hoping to get a little mercy out of his mother. Sim looked him in the eyes. You are not my son. She pressed the hot metal to Kiba's face. Kiba almost immediately screamed in pain. After his marks were burned she threw him to the ground and the members dragged him out. All the while Kiba was wondering how his life had gone so wrong. Then he realized that Naruto was to blame for this. If he got through this he would kill the blonde. Meanwhile, Naruto was being led through the Namikaze complex by his father and mother. They walked down to the Namikaze library where there were all sorts of scrolls of many sizes. Minato turned to his son. Naruto, he began, I know that you are going to train hard for the final part of the Chunin exams. Naruto nodded at his dad. Well, for this part you'll have to keep your enemy guessing, so I'm going to find out your elemental affinity. He handed Naruto a scroll. When you touch this scroll it will show us your affinity. When Naruto touched it all of their eyes nearly popped out of their heads. A portion of the scroll turned wet, another burst into flame, one became electrified, another seemed to turn to wind, another shone brightly and another went black as pitch. What the heck? Naruto asked. Kushina smiled brightly. It seems he has it too. Minato nodded. Kushina turned to her son. You have the elemental rose, it's an ability few Uzumaki have. It allows them to control all of the elements. She explained. Naruto grinned at that. It seemed like every day he grew stronger. Now son, Minato said, I want you to study all of the elemental justa you can find in this library. That will give your first opponent a bit of a surprise when you fight them. Naruto nodded at his dad and set to work. He decided that now of all times was probably a good one to try out the Dragon Eyes copying ability. He activated it, and was shocked to see the way to perform the jutsu was played out before his eyes like a video. Then it was easily put into his memory. Naruto studied all kind of jutsu from all of kinds of elemental styles. He couldn't wait until he could get the chance to use some of them. Sasuke was going to be so mad when he found out Naruto could do a bunch of techniques that he couldn't. It took a few hours, but Naruto had learned a vast array of techniques in his arsenal. Also after a few hours he had fell asleep. As Naruto slept he didn't feel the presence of another person in the library. He didn't hear them sneak up on him, or when the figure stood behind him. The figure raised a kunai knife and then brought it down on Naruto's skull. At the last second a second kunai flew out, and smacked the one out the assailant's hand. The man wore a dog mask over his face, and had something over his head to hide his hair. They followed the direction of the thrown kunai to see Minato standing in the door. Minato scowled and charged at the assailant, and tackled him, sending him through the wall of the building. The sound of that woke Naruto up straight away. Naruto ran through the newly formed hole to see his dad fighting off some guy in a mask. Minato was easily holding his own, but the intruder got the drop on him, and hit him with a smoke bomb. The man tried to run but ran right into Kushina, who kicked him in the place where the sun don't shine. While the man was doubled over in pain, Minato came through the smoke and lifted the guy off the ground and slammed his skull into the floor. Naruto chose that moment to show up and went through hand signs wind style, air prison. The wind seemed to flow towards the man, and then trapped him in a tornado. Minato crossed his arms. Good work, my boy, he said, praising his son. Now let's find out who this is. Minato reached for the mask and ripped it off, revealing a face that shocked him. Kakashi? Kakashi looked at his former sensei, and then at Naruto. Contempt was obvious in his one-seen eye. Why? Minato asked. I thought you didn't have any contempt toward him. Kakashi just shook his head. That boy should have died a long time ago, Kakashi said coldly. I probably should have checked the river to make sure he was dead. Minato glared at Kakashi. You told me you were paid by a member of the council. Kakashi shook his head. I lied. I did it on my own accord. I did it because he took you away from me, sensei. I was the only son you ever needed. Minato's eyes narrowed as Kakashi continued. When you came back I was overjoyed because you were alive and that Naruto hadn't taken you away. But he still must die. Minato raised an eyebrow. Why is that? Kakashi looked his sensei in the eye. He has been keeping Sasuke from reaching his full potential. When we first started teams he always held the team back and now he has a power that rightfully belongs to the Uchiha. I've seen what he can do. He has grown too powerful. How long before he turns that power against us? How long? That is why we must kill him. You can redeem yourself and slay him. Minato looked at Kakashi then at Naruto, and nodded. The air prison vanished and Minato lifted Kakashi up and looked him in the eye. I will tell you this once, Kakashi, stay away from my son, he said threateningly. Kakashi looked at Minato as if he was insane. The demon has fooled you, sensei. That thing is not your son. There is no way he can be. Crash! Minato had had enough of this and slammed his foot into Kakashi's chest. At that moment Anbu had arrived. Anbu, Minato ordered, take this filth away. He is to have his chakra sealed and to have any knowledge of jutsu wiped from his memory. Then take him to Ibiki. It's time he knew the error of what he has done. As Kakashi was dragged away he yelled, You're making a mistake. That thing deserves to die. If I don't do it then Sasuke will. I've taught him everything I know. You won't stand a chance against him. Those were his final words as he was dragged away. Minato shook his head in disgrace. I can't believe he was ever my student. He thought aloud. He turned to Naruto. Son, I suggest you get some sleep. You have to meet your trainer tomorrow. Naruto yawned then nodded at his father. Night mom, night dad, he said as he walked off to bed. Later in the master bedroom, Minato sat in his bed staring at the wall, a look of anger on his face. Honey? He heard his wife ask. Minato sighed. I'm sorry, sweetie, I just can't believe it. I forgave him for trying to kill my son and so did he, and in return he tries to kill him again. Kushina wrapped her arms around her husband. I know, she said, sorrow in her voice, but at least we know that he will be safe here and that Kakashi will get his punishment. Minato smiled. Kushina always knew how to cheer him up. He took his wife into his arms. You always did know how to cheer me up. The two kissed then they laid down to sleep. The following morning, Naruto woke up to the smell of cooking food. He ran down from his room and found his mother cooking breakfast. Naruto sat down and ate like nuts. After a few hours he set out for the spot in the forest his dad had told him. He found the waterfall in the middle of the woods to the east of the training field. He was waiting around for him when he felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned around to see his dad standing behind him. Oh hey Pop. What's up? Minato smiled. I came to see you for your training, he said. Naruto grinned at his old man. Well, I can't wait to meet this guy. I hope he can help me get strong. Minato grinned. Naruto, he said looking at his son, I'm going to train you. Naruto stared at his father like he was nuts. What? Chapter 11, Namake's training. What? You heard me, Naruto, Minato said, grinning at the look of shock on his son's face. I'm going to be your sensei for the last part of the Chunin exams. To say Naruto was surprised was an understatement. He couldn't believe this was happening. He was going to be trained by one of the strongest ninja ever to walk the earth. I thought you were going to have someone else train me, Naruto said, still a little surprised. Minato closed his eyes. Well, I was going to have someone else do it, but... Flashback. In the hot spring all the women were enjoying themselves. Unfortunately they didn't notice an old man watching them. Said old man had long white hair and was wearing mostly red with sandals. His name was Jiraiya Toad Sage, self-proclaimed super pervert and Naruto's so-called godfather. He laughed a bit. He was currently getting research for his latest issue of Ike Ike Paradise when he was suddenly grabbed by the back of his shirt. Who dares, he started to say when he saw that the person who picked him up was Minato. Minato looked at his old sensei with disdain. Hello sensei, he said with anger obvious in his tone. Minato. I heard you were still alive. Look, if this is about spying on your honeymoon with Kushina, I'm sorry. Jiraiya blurted out, trying to save his skin. A vein was starting to show up on Minato's forehead. You did what? He yelled, getting the attention of the girls in the hot spring. He continued yelling at his sensei. You spy on my honeymoon, and when you're supposed to be watching my son like I told you to, you go off and peep on the girls' hot spring for your perverted book. By now Jiraiya was sweating bullets. He had a feeling he knew what was coming. Now Minato, let's be reasonable. He started to say, but Minato wasn't having any of it. He drew back his arm and slammed it into Jiraiya's face. The force of the strike sent him flying into the girls' hot spring. Unfortunately Kurenai, Anko, Kushina, Hana, and Sim were all in it at the time. You can imagine that they were all mad that they were being peeped on by an old man. Not to mention Kushina was furious that this guy had peeped on her honeymoon. You could hear Jiraiya's screams of pain all the way to the sand village. End flashback. Let's just say he won't be joining us anytime soon. Minato finished with a smirk on his face. So what are you going to teach me? Naruto asked with a curious gleam in his eye. All of shock now gone from him. He still had trouble believing he was going to learn the moves of the strongest clan in Konoha. Well, first I'm going to see what you've learned, Minato said, earning a confused look from Naruto. He sighed. The file said you barely had any training. I know that you've learned moves from your mother, Kyuubi and Elion. Plus all the jutsu you learned yesterday. I want to see it in action. Naruto nodded at this. You got it, Pops, but before we do I have to tell you something. Minato looked at his son. I have dojutsus. Minato's jaw nearly hit the floor. His son had dojutsus. Well, what are they? He asked. Well, first there's this one. Naruto closed his eyes and opened them to reveal a green eye with gold whites, a silver pupil with silver commas in them. This is called the Dragon's Eye. It has the power to copy any move I see from Jutsu to Keikai Genkai. Minato stared at his son in shock of the power his family had. Then there is this one. He closed his eyes again and opened them to reveal a red eye with an orange slit pupil, and the whites had turned black. What marveled Minato about this one was that the red kept changing shades like a lava lamp. This one is called the Kitsune Eye. All it does is imprison someone in a genjutsu. However, the genjutsus this one uses can cause damage to someone. Minato was floored. He had no idea that Elion and Kyuubi had given his son such power. He didn't even know they could create dojutsu. And the best part, Naruto continued, is that they can be passed down along with a bit of Kyuubi's or Elion's chakra. Minato once again couldn't speak. By the look of things, Naruto was improving his clan little by little. After the shock wore off, Minato had a look of pride on his face. His son was going to do great things for the village, he just knew it. Now all he had to do was get the ignorant villagers to accept him and convince them he wasn't a demon. Minato smiled. Well, now that that is out of the way, Minato said, let's see what you can do with everything you learned. With that said, Minato charged at Naruto. Naruto, however, was ready and caught his father's fist in his hand. Naruto would have thrown him, but Minato caught Naruto's arm with his other hand and threw him across the lake. Naruto managed to catch himself and, focusing chakra into his feet, started to walk on the water. Minato noticed this. So this is what Kushin has been teaching him, he thought. Minato started to walk on the water as well and ran until he reached Naruto. The two started exchanging blows like crazy until Naruto managed to bash his dad away. When he did, he went through hand signs and called out, Water style, water dragon. A dragon made completely out of water rose from the lake and attacked Minato, roaring. Minato dodged the attack, but it kept coming. Minato in response went through hand signs himself and yelled, Fire style, dragon fire. Minato took a deep breath and let out a large torrent of flame. The move evaporated the water dragon. Naruto growled. He knew fighting a Kage wouldn't be easy. He charged at Minato again, only this time he drew both Kyuubi's and Elion's swords. He swung both, intent on cutting his father, but Minato dodged the swords at the last second. Naruto tried again and again, but he couldn't hit him. Then Naruto thought of something his mom had taught him. He ran forward, creating 3 shadow clones. The clones jumped up and brought their swords down while the real Naruto ran forward and yelled, Crescent Moon Dance. The swords all went through Minato. Naruto thought he had killed his father when he burst into smoke, revealing a mutilated log. Naruto smirked. He is good. Naruto thought. Not bad, sonny boy, Minato yelled. Naruto turned to see his father on a tree branch. To master the Crescent Moon Dance at such a young age is very impressive. Naruto smiled at his father's praise. But enough with this. I want to see what other jutsu you learned. Naruto grinned a fox-like grin as he went through hand signs. Wind style, cleaving wind. Naruto raised both his hands and brought them down, sending a wave of wind that Minato barely managed to dodge in time. After Minato landed on the ground, he turned to see that the tree he was standing on along with a few others had been cut. He smiled and charged at Naruto. This time he just focused chakra into his hands. Naruto did the same and the two got in a grappling contest. Naruto eventually threw his dad up and grabbed his solar plexus. He held on tight and charged for a nearby cliff. The result was Minato being slammed against solid rock. Minato looked at his son, then poofed away into non-existence. Naruto figured that his father was going to pull a trick like that. Naruto looked around until he had lightning style, lightning burst. Naruto only dodged seconds before a bolt of lightning struck the ground tight where he had been standing. Naruto had to find a way to find his dad and fast before he was struck with lightning again, or worse. Kit! He heard Kyuubi yell in his head, use my chakra, you can use it to increase your senses and find your old man. Plus it'll give you a power boost. And for extra, combine it with one of your jutsu. Naruto took the fox's advice and started to bring out its chakra. Naruto started to glow red, and then a twister of red chakra flew out of Naruto's body. Meanwhile, Minato was watching from a tree he was hiding in. He had no idea that his son would be able to call on one of those beasts' chakra. Then the chakra concentrated on Naruto. When it settled, Naruto was coved in it. Naruto's hands had chakra claws and he had 9 chakra tails that looked like a fox's on his lower back and 2 chakra fox-like ears. His eyes had also turned red with a red slit. Naruto sniffed the air as he smelt around for his father. When he found him, he went through hand signs and yelled Kitsune/fire style, burning fox grenades. Then Naruto blew out 4 fireballs that formed foxes that ran for his father's location. Minato saw it coming and decided to dodge one that was coming right at him, but to his surprise, as soon as it did, it exploded in a burst of fire and chakra. Minato was flown back until another one of the foxes showed up and exploded too. It repeated with the other 2. Minato got up, not believing he had fallen for that little trick. His kid said grenades, for Pete's sake, he should have seen the explosions coming. As he was still thinking, Naruto showed up and slammed his fist into Minato's gut. Naruto then reappeared behind him in a second and slammed his foot into his chest, sending Minato to the ground. Naruto looked at his downed father, and to his surprise Minato raised his hand and said, "I submit." Kyuubi's chakra wore off and Naruto returned to normal. "I didn't hurt you too much, did I, Pops?" he asked, concerned for his father. To his surprise, Minato got up fairly easy. "Ha!" he laughed. "It takes more than that to take a Namikaze down." Naruto smiled and Minato looked at him directly. "Naruto, I'm impressed with how powerful you've become, but you still need a little more. For the first part of your training, I'm going to increase your strength and speed." Minato started to search for something when Naruto started to think about something. "Hey Dad," Naruto asked as his father continued to search, "I was wondering. Those 2 jutsu I used were supposed to drain my chakra and I still had more to go. Why is that?" Minato stopped looking and rose up. "You got some of me and your mother, it seems," he said, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. "It's a Namikaze ability called the God's Heart. It's a special ability that gives whoever has it nearly unlimited stamina and an unimaginable amount of chakra." Naruto stared at his father. "So how much chakra do I have because of it?" Naruto asked, obviously interested. "Probably enough to take on 6 Kages, win, and still have enough energy to spare." Naruto's jaw hit the floor when he heard this. He had that much chakra? Man, his life just seemed to keep getting better and better. Minato went back to searching until he found what he was looking for. Naruto looked at what his father had found, a set of arm and leg weights. "For the first part of your training you are to wear these every hour of the day until you can move at your regular speed with them on. Once you get used to them, you will be able to move at your highest speed with them on, and with them off you will be even faster." He handed them to Naruto, who was surprised to find that they were incredibly heavy. He looked at the weight indication on each one and found that they each weighed 400 pounds each. Naruto looked at his father, who had a completely serious look on his face. He put them on and let them weigh him down. Minato smirked at his kid. "Now that you have them on, give me 200 push-ups. Naruto looked at his father like he was crazy, but he knew better than to talk back to someone who could beat him into the floor, so he got on the ground and started doing his push-ups. After a few long, agonizingly painful minutes and 200 push-ups, Naruto collapsed. Minato shook his head and said, "Too easy. 200 more." Naruto bit his tongue to keep himself from saying something he would regret in the end and started up again. The rest of the training for the day went like that. 300 sit-ups, 50 laps around the village, and kicking and punching an iron post 400 times. Naruto was starting to wonder if he would even survive the month of training with his father. Eventually the day was over and Naruto, with the weights still on, went home. On a positive note, all of the working out had made it easier to walk around with an extra 1600 pounds. When Naruto got home, he went to bed and he was asleep before he even hit the pillow. The training lasted for a few more weeks. By this point Naruto could move at a speed that made Guy look like a turtle with the weights on. With them off he was practically invisible to anyone who looked. Plus all the working, lifting all that weight had made him stronger. Now he had strength that could rival Tsunade of the Sannin. The working out had also made his muscles grow. He had more of an athletic build now, but more than likely the girls would drool if he ever took his shirt off. But other than that, it was now time for the second part of the Namikaze training. "Alright Naruto," Minato said, looking at his student, "today I'm going to teach you one of the Namikaze clan's most prestigious techniques, the body flicker." Naruto was wondering what the technique was when Minato suddenly disappeared in a flash of gold. "Whoa! Cool!" Naruto yelled. Minato appeared in front of Naruto again and looked him in the eye. "The body flicker is a technique you can only use if you have a certain ability." Minato focused chakra in his eyes. When he opened them, his eyes were completely white except for a pupil, and the veins were blue and had an electric glow to them. With the Saikagen, he explained, you can take a mental picture of a certain area and then you can appear in that spot. Now you try. Naruto focused chakra into his eyes and activated his Saikagen. Naruto looked around until he found a spot where he could try to teleport. He focused on that spot until he had a mental picture in his mind. Then he thought about being in that place, and then in a flash of gold he was there. Naruto looked around and saw his dad beaming at him in pride. It had taken him a few years to master that move and he had learned it in seconds. My kid is something else, Minato thought. So what are we going to learn now? Naruto asked, but Minato shook his finger. I think you've learned enough for now, Minato said bluntly. But Dad, no buts. Naruto, I still have a few more things to teach you, but I will only do it after the Chunin exams and not a moment sooner. Okay. Minato crossed his arms, showing Naruto that he wasn't fooling. Alright, Naruto said, a little disappointed. Minato put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Why don't you go see Hinata? She'd probably love to see you. Maybe you could ask her out to dinner along with the rest of the girls. That seemed to brighten Naruto up. A date with the girls sounded like a good idea. If he was going to marry them, it may be a good idea to get to know them so he wouldn't make them angry by mistake. Naruto headed out. His first stop, the Hyuga complex. 10 minutes later, Naruto had shown up at the Hyuga complex and was currently looking for Hinata. He found her training with her father in some of the techniques for the Angel Byakugan. When Hiashi noticed Naruto was there, he excused her so the two could talk. What brings you here, Naruto? She asked. Well, Hinata, Naruto said, looking slightly nervous, I was wondering if you would like to go with me and some of the other girls to go get something to eat tonight. Her answer was to wrap her arms around him and nearly crush him in a hug. I'll take that as a yes, Naruto said when she let go. Well, he said after a few minutes of silence, I'm gonna go see if any of the other girls are in. Oh, and would you mind passing this message to Hanabi too? Hinata nodded. With that said, he left and Hinata went to go get Hanabi so she could come too. A few minutes later, Naruto showed up at the Yamanaka flower shop. He walked in to see Ino with her mother tending to the shop. Hey Naruto, Ino said when she noticed him. She walked up to him and kissed his cheek. What's up? I was coming to ask if you wanted to come to dinner with me and the rest of the girls. He said truthfully. Ino smiled. Sure, I'd love to. Good. Well, see you tonight. Naruto said calmly and walked out to get Tenten. A few minutes later, Naruto entered the Nagarashi weapons shop. Tenten was working with her dad in the weapons forge when she noticed him in the shop. She walked up and kissed his cheek much like Ino had done. What's up, sweetheart? She asked in a sweet voice. I was wondering if you'd like to go to get something to eat with me and the girls later. Sure. Be here at 7. She answered. Naruto nodded at her nonchalantly, and left to go get the last person of his company this evening. Provided he could get past her mother. At the Inuzuka complex, Naruto had a slight feeling of nervousness. He knew how protective Isom was of her daughter. When he entered, he was almost picked up and thrown up against the wall by Isom. When she saw it was Naruto, she put him down. What do you want? Isom asked, trying not to sound threatening so she wouldn't scare of her daughter's future husband. Naruto cleared his throat. I was going to ask Hana if she wanted to go out later with me and the girls. Isom grinned. I'll give her the message. But let me tell you, no, if you do anything to harm my daughter, I will. Easy, Isom, Naruto said, trying to calm her down. I wouldn't do anything to harm a woman. Besides, even if she was interested in that, I would wait until after the wedding and during the honeymoon. Isom happened to smile at that. She was happy that her daughter was betrothed to such a gentleman. She put him down and Naruto hurried home to get ready. He was in for one busy night. Chapter 12, Dates, Jerks and Entrances. Naruto was busy getting ready for his date with the girls. He was wearing a pair of black jeans and a red shirt with a black vest over it to make it look more distinguished. Naruto looked at himself in the mirror and grinned. Dang, I look good, he thought. He glanced at the clock. He had to meet the girls at the restaurant in an hour. As Naruto headed down, his mother stopped him. What's with the outfit, honey? She asked. I got a date with the girls tonight. Naruto answered. Kushina smiled. It was nice that he was going to get to know the girls he was going to be marrying in a few years. She grinned to herself as he left when she realized that she was going to have Minato to herself when he got home from the office. At the Inuzuka complex, Hana glanced at herself in the mirror in her room. She was wearing a black dress that ended just below her knees and had a gold sash from the shoulder to the hip. She glanced at herself and struck a pose. Man, she was glad that her brother was currently in chains in the back of the complex, and that her mother couldn't see her right now. She would have a field day with her wearing a dress. As she left to meet Naruto, she got a few strange looks from some of the other members cause she didn't normally wear dresses. She just ignored them, and when she was out of the complex, booked it for the restaurant. At the Yamanaka flower shop. Oh, you look so cute in that, Ino's mother said, clasping her hands together. Ino was in a purple dress with a dark blue sash that went from her hip to her shoulder. That being the only thing that covered her chest. Apparently she wanted to tease Naruto a bit tonight. Thanks, Mom, she said, admiring herself in the mirror. Mrs. Yamanaka turned her around and looked her in the eyes. Now, sweetie, remember, if he tries anything, you aim for the spot that will hurt him the most and call ANBU, Ino finished for her mother. But seriously, Mom, I'm going to be there with other people so I don't have to worry about him trying anything. Besides, we're on the same team, and he hasn't tried anything yet. Her mother sighed and let her go. Ino got out of the shop and headed for the restaurant. At the Nagarashi weapons shop, Tenten was looking at herself in a mirror. She had on a silver dress with a golden sash around her waist. Her dad was a little nervous about her going out tonight. He had been a little protective since the kidnapping incident. Her mother managed to convince him to let her go by means that I can't tell you about because it would violate the rating of the story. Tenten took one last look before she left, and then she left for the restaurant. At the Hyuga complex, Hinata and Hanabi were both wearing the same colored blue dress, except Hinata's had a green sash and Hanabi's had a white one. Hanabi was a little shocked when she found out that she was going to marry Naruto. Truth be told, she didn't really like him that much at first, but as time went by, when her sister told her about him, he started to grow on her a little bit. She was kind of happy when she found out that he wanted to take all of them out to dinner. This would be her chance to see if he really was the gentleman that Hinata kept saying she was. Hanabi had also grown less stoic. Ever since the Hyuga Council was taken away, the stone-like vision of the Hyuga faded. The mental conditioning on them wore off, and they all seemed very different from the way they were. As Hinata and Hanabi left, they both couldn't help but smile. 5 minutes later, all the girls had arrived at the restaurant called the Lotus Bloom. It was one of the most exclusive and expensive restaurants in the district. To be honest, some of them were surprised. They were half expecting it to be at Ichiruka's or some cheap ramen place. Well, don't you all look nice? They all turned to see Naruto standing behind them in his new outfit. They all had to admit that he looked very handsome in it. He was actually the spitting image of his father when he was young. How the villagers didn't notice the resemblance was a mystery. Shall we? Naruto asked after he took in the looks of the girls and they took in his look. As they walked in, they were stopped by a waiter. Can I help you? He asked. Table for 5, please. It should be under Namikaze. Naruto said. The waiter checked his clipboard and led them to their table. As they waited for someone to take their order, Han had to ask. Alright, how did you get us into this place? You have to place a reservation months ahead. Naruto grinned a fox-like grin that almost all of them found cute by now. I have my sources, he said mysteriously. When the waiter came, they placed their orders and got right down to talking. The Hyuga clan had found an old scroll containing a fighting style that Hinata's mother Hana had developed. Apparently when she developed it, the Hyuga council had it banned because it went against how the males did things. Sexism at its finest, people. At its finest. Hey Hinata, Hana said while they were waiting for their food. Yeah? Hinata asked. Hana sighed and hung her head. I'm sorry for what my brother tried to do to you at the academy. Hinata hung her head slightly and Ino and Tenten looked at her curiously. What happened? Ino asked, wanting to be in on what was going on. Hana growled. He tried to rape her at least 4 times while they were at the academy. The reactions were for almost all the girls' jaws to drop and for Naruto to let out a low growl. The girls were completely appalled. They knew Kiba had wanted Hinata for his mate, but they didn't know he would take it that far. Why didn't you tell anyone, Hinata? Tenten asked her friend. Hinata frowned. I didn't tell anyone because ANBU always showed up to stop him. I didn't tell anyone because back then the Hyuga Council probably would have tried to make me marry him, or they would have just called me a slut. She started to cry at the end and Naruto wrapped an arm around and whispered sweet nothings into her ear. So what happened to Kiba when his mom found out? Naruto asked. Hana smirked. He got a beating for trying to steal Hinata from you so many times, and he has been banished from the pack for trying to rape Hinata. Even Akamaru detests him now. Everyone seemed to heave a sigh of relief. They were a little unsettled that Kiba had been shunned by his family like that, but they were glad that he had finally gotten what he had deserved. They just hoped he was alive because they heard that banishment from an Inuzuka pack was incredibly painful. When their orders came, they all ate well. When the bill came, though, the girls were in for a real shocker. 5 million yen? Hana gasped when she saw the bill for the food. They knew this place was expensive, but this was ridiculous. Naruto let out a mental growl. He focused some of Elion's chakra and summoned a small green dragon. Go, Naruto ordered mentally, get the manager of the restaurant. He should be in an office in the back. The small dragon nodded its heads and ran across the floor unseen by anyone to get the manager. No more than a few minutes later did a hefty man in a tux come out with a serious expression on his face. He approached the table where Naruto was. He was about to say something when Naruto made a motion for him to be quiet without the waiter knowing. So, Naruto said to the waiter who was grinning, what is with this ridiculous price? It's demon tax, the waiter answered, a tax on the food for a demon and his demon whores. The girls all seemed surprised at what the man had said. They were wondering why this guy was calling Naruto a demon, and why they had called them whores. To be Hones, it actually pissed them off, and they weren't the only ones. The manager's serious expression had turned angry the instant the waiter said that. Demon tax, huh? The manager asked, making his presence known. The waiter turned around shocked to see the manager. Mr. Setsumaki, the waiter said, obviously nervous, I was just giving the bill to the customers. I know what you were doing, the Mr. Setsumaki said sternly. You were overpricing this young man and his lady friends here. Empty your locker, turn in your name tag and have your letter of resignation on my desk in the morning. You're fired. But sir, I was only. Now, the manager growled, trying to keep his voice down so he wouldn't make a scene in his own restaurant. The waiter left with a glare at Naruto. The manager faced the group. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, sir. Your meal is free of charge tonight. Thanks, Tetsuro, Naruto said, smiling. The fact that Naruto knew the manager shocked some of the girls. As they left, Tenten looked at Naruto. So that's how you got us in? She said, smiling. Naruto just shrugged. I helped his daughter out a few months ago. He owed me, so when I suggested that he let me and you girls eat here, he jumped at the chance to repay me. By the way, Hana said, what was with that whole demon thing? Everyone looked at each other nervously. Hana didn't know about the cubie being sealed inside Naruto. Naruto looked her in the eye. It's a long story, he said, but my dad will explain everything after the Chunin exams. Hana nodded, then she noticed where they were. Oh. No way. She yelled suddenly. The girls looked at her, and then they noticed that they were near a dance club. Naruto formed a shadow clone for each girl. They all go in and got down. After a few hours it was me to leave and Naruto and the girls were leaving when, well, look who's here, said an unbearably familiar voice. They all groaned as they turned to see Sasuke along with Sakura, who was glaring at them. What do you want, team? Naruto asked, obviously not in the mood for this guy. You can't talk to Sasuke like that, Sakura screeched. She probably would have continued yelling, but she was cut off by a small amount of killing intent being given off by the girls. What are you doing with my women, Dobe? Sasuke asked in a superior tone. If you must know, Tenten said, we're on a date. Sasuke humphed. Like anyone would want this loser. You know you want to be with a prodigy and a real man. To everyone's shock and Sakura and Sasuke's annoyance, Hanabi burst out laughing. When she finally stopped, she wiped a tear from her eye. I'm sorry, she said after a few minutes of catching her breath. It's just that this guy saying he is a man is actually kind of funny when you think about it. The girls and Naruto all seemed to think for a minute, and then they started laughing too. Sasuke was seething. Stop laughing, he yelled. Naruto composed himself. Look, team, he said, why don't you go with your blind little stooge over there and leave us in peace, or I could just throw you out of the way. Sasuke actually laughed. Yeah, Dobe. Like you could. I finally figured out how you got all that power. It was all in those swords that you carry around with you. Without them you're powerless against me. It was then when the girls noticed that Naruto didn't have any weapons on him. He didn't have his weapons pouch or the swords that he usually had with him. Sasuke charged at him with the intent to beat him into the ground, but Naruto caught his fist with only 2 fingers and knocked him back with a backhand. Naruto went through a few hand signs and yelled, Dragon style, Dragon claws. Silver chakra swirled around Naruto's arms and formed large claws. Sasuke was shocked. He had expected Naruto to be powerless without those swords, but he was strong, and he could still use that silver chakra. While all this was being processed, Naruto had rushed forward and slashed at Sasuke's stomach, tearing the shirt and leaving scars on his chest. Naruto then picked up Sasuke and with his fist still made of silver chakra nailed him right in the face, sending him flying across the plaza and into a wall. Sakura ran after her so-called love to try and help him, while Naruto turned to the girls. I think it's time you all got home. They all agreed with him. Naruto made a shadow clone to go with each person. He personally walked Hinata and Hanabi home. With Ino, Naruto had successfully gotten Ino home and was talking to her. Well, that was a fun date, he said. Too bad it's over. Ino giggled. Not just yet. Naruto was going to ask what she meant when she grabbed him by the collar and kissed him deeply. She shoved her tongue into his mouth and grabbed one of his hands and placed it on his butt. After a few minutes of tongue wrestling, Naruto vanished in a puff of smoke. Ino had a look of satisfaction on her face as she licked her lips and grinned. With Tenten and another Naruto, Tenten stood at the porch of her house with Naruto standing in front of her. I had a great time tonight, she said with a smile. So did I, Naruto said. Hope we can do it again. Yeah, but until then. Tenten grabbed Naruto and kissed him senseless. Her tongue probed his mouth with vigor, and she pushed her breast roughly up against his chest. Naruto groaned and then grabbed a handful of Tenten's buttocks. After a few minutes he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Tenten groaned in disappointment, but touched her lips and a smile came across her face. With Hana and yet another Naruto. As Hana and Naruto approached the Inuzuka complex, a mischievous grin came across Hana's face. Naruto didn't notice it. When they got to the gate, Hana looked in Naruto's eyes. That was probably one of my better dates, she said truthfully. I hope we can do it again sometime. She winked at him. Yeah, Naruto said, getting nervous. Well, see you. He started to leave when Hana suddenly grabbed his shoulder and spun him around. Not quite yet, she said. She pulled Naruto into a hot kiss. She grabbed one of Naruto's hands and pressed it up against one of her breasts. Naruto groaned slightly and then grabbed her but with his other. Hana moaned at the action and started to grind herself against him to try to entice him to further exploration. Unfortunately for her, he vanished in a puff of smoke. Hana stood up since she had to bend over to kiss him. She smiled as she wiped a little bit of sweat off her forehead and smiled mischievously. With Hinata, Hanabi, and the real Naruto this time. Hinata, Hanabi and the real Naruto had gotten to the Hyuga district, and it was time for them to say goodbye. Good night, you two, don't do anything crazy, Naruto said as he left. Naruto, Hanabi said, getting his attention. Aren't you forgetting something? Naruto got what she meant. Naruto bent over and kissed Hanabi on the cheek. Hanabi giggled slightly and ran inside. Naruto turned to Hinata and was about to kiss her when she crashed her lips onto his. Naruto was in a bit of shock. He didn't really expect Hinata to make the first move, but she has gotten over her chronic shyness ever since she was put on his team. Naruto groaned and kissed her back. They broke apart for air and went their separate ways. At that time Naruto received the memories of the shadow clones he sent with the others, including the hot kisses he had with all of them. He blushed slightly and went on home. A week later, the village was gathered in the arena. It was finally the day of the final part of the Chunin exams. Almost everyone was in the arena to watch the spectacle. Some of them were only there to see the chance of Naruto getting beaten. The only people who weren't there were the kids at the ninja academy, the people who were in prison and the ninja who were stuck on guard duty. Naruto was currently with Hinata before the tournament, and they both were planning on going in when Naruto! Hinata! They turned to the source of the voice to see Kushina running towards them. What's up, Mom? Naruto asked. Well, I heard that you wanted a new wardrobe for the tournament, so I made this for you and Hinata, she said, handing Naruto and Hinata each a box. Before either could say anything, she was gone. Naruto and Hinata opened their boxes and grinned at what they saw inside. We better change quick, Hinata said. Naruto just nodded and they ran off. In the arena, Minato sat in the important people's box. He was waiting for the tournament to start when he heard a familiar voice. Minato? He turned to see the fire daimyo and the water daimyo standing behind him. It's good to see you too, he said. How? The fire daimyo asked. How can you still be alive? No one has ever survived using the Reaper Death Seal. Minato chuckled. When the Shinigami was about to take me away, someone got in the way and stopped him. I don't remember much, but I do remember a powerful, almost holy chakra. The daimyo smiled. He was glad that his old friend was alive. In the stands, where do you think Naruto and Hinata are? Hanabi asked her father. I'm not sure, Hayashi answered. This doesn't sit right with me. That dobe probably chickened out. They both turned to see a smiling Sakura. He and that little slut of his probably chickened out, and aren't gonna bother to show up. I'd watch what you say about my sister, and in case you haven't noticed, your precious Uchiha hasn't shown up either. She growled. Sakura was going to say something, but Hayashi managed to keep her quiet and stop them from getting in a fight. In the Kage booth. Where's Naruto? Minato asked aloud. Naruto? Asked the water daimyo. Yes, why? Minato said, turning to the old man. I have heard that name before. I believe that he is regarded as a hero in the Hidden Mist village. I have heard a great deal of good things about him. Minato smiled slightly at that. At least not everyone in the world seemed to be after him. That was when Minato heard a roll of thunder. Everyone in the stadium looked up to see the clouds spinning around in a funnel. Then there was a flash and bursts of red, silver and blue chakra shot down from the sot and landed right in the middle of the arena. When the smoke cleared, 3 large creatures, a fox made out of red chakra, a dragon made of silver chakra, and what looked like an angel made of blue chakra. Some of the villagers screamed at the sight of the fox. The demon has escaped, or I knew we should have killed that brat when we had the chance. Unfortunately, both daimyos heard their words and they were a little angry. Then the fox and dragon roared while the angel did nothing, and they all seemed to concentrate on 2 figures in the middle. When the chakra all cleared, everyone gasped at the sight. Naruto and Hinata were in the middle, only they were wearing different outfits. Naruto had on a red shirt and black jeans. The shirt was tight so that you could see his developing chest muscles. He had the 2 swords on his back as usual, but he had on white trench coat much like his father's, only his had Knights of Konoha written in kanji on the back, and it had red and silver flames on it. Hinata was wearing a tight shirt that showed of her surprisingly ample chest, and a pair of jeans that hugged her body. Both were blue, and she wore a small tan-colored jacket that had Angel of the Hyuga clan written in kanji on the back. She also had her lance resting on her shoulder. Naruto looked up at the crowd and yelled, "We're here! Chapter 13, Start the tournament." Everyone in the stadium was at a standstill. The little show they had just seen was absolutely spectacular. The fact that these 2 could control their chakra so expertly that they could form creatures with them. Some of the people in the stands noticed how Naruto looked like Minato, and started yelling, "How dare you! Or don't you dare disgrace our Kage!" Silence! Minato roared as he heard these things. What is wrong with these people? Asked the fire daimyo. The water daimyo was also wondering why they all hated this child so much for a new appearance. Minato hung his head in shame. When I sealed the Kyuubi away, he started, I expected the village to see Naruto as a hero. Instead they did things to him that should not be done to such a young child. He was beaten, stabbed, and raped among other things. The daimyos looked at each other, then at Minato, and scowls crossed their lips. They had heard great things about this village. Apparently this village wasn't worth anything they had been told. Minato continued. After the sealing, Sarutobi put a law that said that anyone who mentioned the Kyuubi would be met with death. Unfortunately, the civilian council kept finding ways around to hurt him. On a plus side, the ninja clans tried to adopt him, but all of them were overruled. This seemed to make the daimyos even angrier. They had done these things to a child, and they had stopped him from knowing the comfort of a family. Minato filled them in on what had happened since he had come back. They were glad to hear that the root division was taken care of, but upset that they still had Sasuke being a spoiled brat. Meanwhile, in the arena, Naruto and Hinata approached the other contestants who were participating in the tournament. Naruto noticed that Dosa wasn't there, and neither was Sasuke. He guessed that Sasuke was probably expecting to get special treatment, and was going to show up late. Then Haku, who was the referee for the tournament, stepped up. Alright, she started. Due to some mix-ups, there are a few changes in the tournament plan. The Hokage will announce the rounds because things are going to get confusing. Naruto grinned slightly. He was glad that he would probably not going to have to fight Hinata. Alright, Minato said, speaking into a microphone. The first round will be between Hinata Hyuga and Ino Yamanaka. If that is not your name, get out of the fighting arena. If that is your name, don't go anywhere. The other fighters left, leaving Hinata and Ino facing each other. May the best woman win, Ino said, holding out her hand. Yeah, Hinata said as she shook it. Ready? Minato asked. Begin. Ino started first, and rushed forward. She drew back her arm to punch, but Hinata brought up her lance, and she hit that instead. Ino jumped back, clutching her hand in pain. She tried again, but this time she jumped up and brought her heel down. Hinata just sidestepped it, and slammed her knee into Ino's gut. Ino went back a little ways. She recovered quickly and went through hand signs. Mind transfer jutsu. Hinata knew she was trying to get at her mind since she couldn't harm her body. Hinata knew she would get her to say she forfeit the match. She couldn't stop her from taking her mind. Once in Hinata's body, Ino tried to get her to give up but was surprised when Hinata fought her control hard enough to actually get out of it. When Ino got up, she found Hinata waiting for her to get up. Hinata went through hand signs and yelled, "Star lightning rain." Hinata lifted her hand and seemed to draw a star in the air out of chakra. Then she took her lance and thrust it into the star, sending beams of light at Ino. Ino closed her eyes and waited for the pain to come, but to her surprise she felt nothing. She opened her eyes to see that the lights had stopped just a few centimeters before her body. Minato saw that if Ino moved, then she would probably cause the lights to shoot forward and turn her into Swiss cheese, so he called out, "Winner, Hinata Hyuga." Naruto cheered silently up in the booth where the other fighters were. Shino had a small smile hidden behind his collar. All the others were staring at the power that this village had. If Sasuke, he probably would have been jealous. Hinata made her way up to the booth, just in time for Minato to call out the next match. The next match is Gaara vs Sasuke. Gaara was down in the arena in an instant, but Sasuke couldn't be seen anywhere. Stupid runt, Minato thought. He stood up and yelled into the mic, "If Sasuke Uchiha isn't here in 20 minutes, he is disqualified." Now then, on to the next match, Temari vs Shikamaru. Temari jumped down from the booth and floated down on her fan. Shikamaru didn't really do anything. Fortunately, or unfortunately, depends on how you look at it, Naruto gave him a little push that sent him down into the arena. After a few minutes of laying on the ground, he got up and faced Temari. The match was an interesting one to say the least. Temari kept Shikamaru at bay with her wind-style attacks. Shikamaru kept trying to snag her with his shadow possession. When he finally did, he gave up because he ran out of chakra. The next match was supposed to be between Kankuro and Shino, but Kankuro withdrew. At that time the 20 minutes were up. Minato announced that Sasuke was disqualified, getting a few angry protests from the villagers. This of course got an angry response from the daimyos. Minato had told them of how the village spoiled Sasuke and how he had everything handed to him on a silver platter. To be honest, it kind of made them angry, and it ticked them off that one of Minato's students showed favoritism toward him. Now with Sasuke disqualified, Minato said after calming the crowd down, "The next match is Naruto vs Gaara." Some of the villagers actually seemed happy about it. Some were actually thinking that Naruto would be killed by this Gaara guy. Naruto and Gaara faced each other in the ring. It was at that moment that in a swirl of leaves Sasuke showed up. "Am I late?" he asked, expecting some special treatment. "You're already disqualified for being late, moron," Naruto said with distaste. "What?" Sasuke yelled. He was appalled that he wouldn't get a chance to fight in the tournament. "You were disqualified for being late," Gaara said, getting impatient. He wanted to start the fight. "Now get out before ANBU called in." Sasuke growled, "No, I won't believe that this loser is fighting you. You are my opponent." Minato had had enough of this and jumped into the arena. "Get out now or I'll throw you out," he growled. Sasuke just growled at Naruto and charged at him, firing up a Chidori. Naruto, however, saw this coming and grabbed it before it could even make contact. Naruto summoned Elion's chakra and hit Sasuke in the chin with an uppercut, sending him flying. Minato looked at where the brat had flown, took out a radio. "Will ANBU please get Sasuke Uchiha and take him to the hospital?" Minato didn't get to be Kage by being cruel. He walked up to Haku and whispered something into her ear. She smiled at something and laughed a little bit. When Minato got to his booth, he picked up the mic and spoke. "Before we start the match, I have an announcement." Everyone listened to him. "As you all know, the Namikaze clan has almost been extinguished except for me. But there is something you don't know. Before my alleged death, my wife Kushina gave birth to a child. Someone to inherit the Namikaze clan's secrets and our power. His name," he paused so everyone would get tense listening, "Naruto Namikaze." The reaction from the crowd was for them to cry out in outrage. Some yelled, "There's no way, or he can't be his son. He's a demon. You're all disgraceful fools." Naruto roared. Everyone was quiet at Naruto's outburst. Naruto faced Gaara. "You ready, sand boy?" Gaara grinned viciously. "Yes, I am Namikaze." "Begin!" Minato yelled. The cork on Gaara's gourd shot off and sand flowed out. The sand rushed toward Naruto, but at the last second Naruto vanished in a flash of gold. Naruto was able to use the body flicker because he had come to the arena a few nights ago and snapped a few shots of the place. He also put a few seals on the stands. Gaara looked around until he saw Naruto coming at him, swords drawn. The sand blocked Naruto's attack. Gaara chuckled, "You're not fast enough." Naruto chuckled this time. "Who said?" Naruto vanished in a blur. A few seconds later Gaara was hit by something. It happened again and again and again. Naruto appeared in front of a downed Gaara. In the stands, Lee and Guy watched in shock. It took Lee years to get that fast, and Naruto had done it in just a month. To say they were jealous was an understatement. Gaara was starting to get annoyed. Naruto tried to move again but realized he couldn't. He looked down to see sand had wrapped around his ankles. Gaara brought out some more sand to crush him. Naruto had to think fast, then he got an idea. He closed his eyes. Gaara thought it was so he wouldn't see it coming. Gaara brought his sand down only to have it blocked by a wall of sand. Gaara looked at Naruto to see that Naruto had activated his Dragon Eye ability. Gaara stared at them in wonder. What is that? He asked. It's called the Dragon's Eye, Naruto explained. It allows me to copy any technique I see, including Kekai Genkai. Gaara grinned. This opponent was stronger than he seemed. Look, Gaara, Naruto said, I know about that demon you have in you. Gaara looked at him in shock. He knew. Don't worry about it. I have one too. Gaara looked like he had been hit with a hammer. Why don't we show these guys what we can really do? Gaara's response was to call back his sand and wrap it around him, forming a ball. Things were quiet for a minute, and then it burst. When the smoke cleared, it showed a massive raccoon-like creature. It was made completely out of sand and had some spots of blue on it on the tail. Almost everyone screamed when they saw this form, and some were even begging the Hokage to intervene before things got out of hand. He did nothing to stop them. Naruto smirked and took his swords out. He focused Kyuubi's chakra and took the form he used when he sparred with his dad. The two went at each other again and crashed. Naruto was able to get a lot of hits in, and Gaara missed a lot due to Naruto being a lot smaller. But he still had trouble doing significant damage to the creature. Kid, he heard Kyuubi growl, you gonna need more of my power if you're going to defeat Shikaku. Take Elion's sword and put it in the tattoo on your arm, then take mine and say, Kyuubi, lend me your power. When you do, you'll have full access to all my power, but there's a drawback. You won't be able to use your dragon techniques or the Dragon Eye. You'll only be able to use my gifts. Now go and beat him into the floor. Naruto slid the sleeve of his trench coat up and placed Elion's sword on the dragon tattoo. When he did, the sword turned to chakra and flew into it. Now it had the gold image of a sword on it. Naruto then raised Kyuubi's sword and said, Kyuubi, lend me your power. After he spoke those words, red chakra focused in the sword and flew out of the sword. The chakra then flew down and hit Naruto dead on. When the smoke cleared, it revealed Naruto, only different. He was covered head to toe in black and red armor. It was basically black with a little bit of red on the shoulders and legs. The red fox tattoo shone brilliantly on the gauntlet where it was on Naruto's arm. The helmet was black with a red, almost V-shaped visor that was sharpened at the tips. The shoulders were spiced, and he had curved blades on the back of his legs. Naruto set Kyuubi's sword on his shoulder. This is where things get serious, he said in a dark voice. He shot forward like a bullet toward Gaara. He went through hand signs and yelled, Kitsune/Earth style, Beast Mountain. After those words we spoke, a massive fox made entirely out of rock came out of the ground and sank its teeth into the raccoon. Naruto ran up the side of it to see Gaara sleeping in its forehead. He guessed that if he wanted to stop this thing he had to wake him up. He tried to get there but was stopped by a bunch of sand flying from the beast's neck and slamming him into the ground. Naruto got up and growled. Hey ugly! He yelled. The beast looked at him. Remember how Lee was able to nearly beat this guy using the chakra gates? No? Well then here's a reminder. Naruto seemed to focus intensely. Then out of nowhere there was this huge rush of chakra. The chakra intensified until Naruto was completely covered in it. He was radiating it so much his armor was completely red except for the outline of his armor where the lines were to separate red and black. Think of how Pikachu on Pokemon looks when it uses Volt Tackle. How? Lee asked in the stands. How did he get one of the chakra gates to open? No, Guy said. He's opened all of them at once. Everyone stared at Guy when he said this. Naruto had opened all 12 chakra gates. This was insanity. The Dragon Eye. Lee suddenly said. What? Guy asked. Naruto said that the Dragon Eye allowed him to copy any technique. He probably tested it on me to see if it was work. Lee was quiet for a minute. This is great. I have helped make a Namikaze strong. Back in the arena, the newly transformed Naruto charged at Gaara. He was even faster than before. He sliced at the body until the only thing left was the head. Naruto then rushed at Gaara's body and yelled, Dark Style, Demonic Seal. Naruto slammed an extended hand with curved fingers into Gaara's gut, sending him to the ground. After that the sand monster crumbled and Gaara was barely conscious. Then Gaara fell asleep. The Kyuubi's chakra wore off and Naruto resumed his original form and looked at the sleeping Gaara. Oh no! Temari said as she flew down. What's wrong? Naruto asked as she knelt down by her brother. If he sleeps that thing will get out, and is he snoring? To her surprise Gaara was snoring and he actually smiled. She picked him up and looked at Naruto. What did you do? She asked. That seal moved, improved the one already on him. You won't have to worry about that thing getting out again. Temari smiled at Naruto. She walked up to him and kissed his forehead. Thanks, she said smiling. She picked Gaara up as Naruto was declared the winner. To his surprise most of the arena let out loud cheers. Naruto turned to face the booth where the contestants were and looked at Hinata. Well, he thought, I knew it was going to happen but I can't stop it. I'm going to have to fight me lover. Meanwhile up in the booth Hinata was thinking the same thing. Meanwhile, Minato had received word that someone was in his office waiting for him. After Naruto was declared the winner he used the body flicker to get to his office. There he found a tall man in black waiting for him. Hello Minato, he said in a voice somewhere familiar with. Hello Itachi. Minato answered. Chapter 14, Angel vs. Dragon. What brings you back here? Minato asked, taking a seat at his desk. My mission has been completed. I know that the Akatsuki are planning to come here. Itachi replied. Good, we'll be ready, Minato said, grinning. There is something you should know though, Itachi said, looking a tad nervous. While I was there they found out that I was a spy. I had to kill most of them. Minato stared at him. Itachi continued, I killed all but 2 of them, Pain and Madara. Minato shot up in his seat. Madara? He asked, Madara Uchiha? Itachi nodded slightly to show that he wasn't kidding. Minato sat down and put his head in his hands. So the old pain in the neck is still alive. Figures, the Uchiha were always a bit of a pain. He realized his mistake. No offense, Itachi. None taken, sir, Itachi said, grinning. He sensed he needed a change of subject. So how is your son? Minato grinned. Naruto's fine, thanks for asking. He has been hurt and abused by the village, but I revealed his true name today so I don't have to worry about it. He also has some incredible power in him, so I bet the villagers will think twice before they try to attack him again. Itachi frowned at how Naruto had been treated. He had seen the boy and helped him a few times before the Uchiha massacre. He knew that a boy who just let the villagers beat on him and didn't do anything to fight back was obviously not a demon. Now if only the villagers weren't total imbeciles, they probably would have seen that. He smiled though at the fact that Naruto was probably going to be treated better. Now then, Minato said after a few minutes, I have a match to see between my son and Hinata Hyuga. Want to come? Itachi nodded his head. He wanted to see what Naruto was capable of now, plus it had been a while since he had seen him, and it would be nice to see the little blonde knuckle head. Meanwhile at the arena, things were starting to get a little boring with the Hokage gone. Since he was gone they couldn't start the next match. Naruto, along with a lot of other people, were starting to grow impatient. After a few minutes Minato finally showed up with a man in a hood. Some were wondering what he was doing in the Kage booth, but no one did anything. Sorry for the delay, Minato said, I had some business to take care of. Now will Naruto Namikaze and Hinata Hyuga please go down to the arena? Naruto and Hinata got down to the arena and faced each other. Both of them were upset that they would have to fight one another, but they didn't have any other choice. Ready? Naruto walked up, whispered something into Hinata's ear, and kissed her cheek. Then the two stepped away from each other. Hinata threw off her jacket, and Naruto threw off his trench coat, revealing his muscled arms. He could have sworn he heard a few girls whistled. He also unsealed Elion's sword from his arm. Begin! Naruto started by sending a barrage of kunai at Hinata. Hinata just ducked and rushed forward, lance drawn, and thrust it at Naruto's chest. Naruto sidestepped the attack and swung a fist and slammed her in the side of the face. Naruto was a little nervous when he did that, but he knew Hinata wouldn't hold it against him. He knew that there weren't any hard feelings in this fight. Hinata got up from the sucker punch and spat in the dirt. She got down into a low stance that Naruto wasn't familiar with. In the stands high she smiled in pride at what Hinata was about to do. So did Hanabi. Trigrams, 64 palms. Hinata cried. Hinata shot at Naruto and tried to use this move to seal his chakra points. Unfortunately for Naruto, the move collided with him. With each hit she cried out. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms. With each strike she hit a chakra point and sealed it. Pretty soon Naruto had all of his chakra points cut off. Sorry my dear, Hinata said as she got out of her stance, but I just cut off your chakra supply. I guess you won't be able to continue. She was surprised when she heard Naruto laugh. I thought this might happen, Naruto chuckled. I had a feeling that you weren't going to hold back. He looked her dead in the eye. So I'm not going to hold back either. Chakra pulse. As soon as he said those words, chakra pulsed through Naruto's body and opened up all the chakra points that Hinata had previously closed. How? Hinata asked, clearly shocked that Naruto had easily countered her trigrams move. Naruto chuckled. I knew that the Byakugan gave the Hyuga clan to see chakra points, and that the Juken style allows them to seal chakra points. So I stored some excess chakra in my lower back. When I used the chakra pulse it opened them up again, and I have chakra stored in other places on my body, so you can't use that style of fighting. Hinata chuckled. You just wanted me to use my angel Byakugan so you can use one of the other kinds of chakra you have. She said, understanding Naruto's reason for doing this. Well, you're going to get your wish. Hinata took out her lance and Naruto took out Elion's sword. Hinata's lance burst into blue chakra and Naruto's burst into silver chakra. Angel strike! She cried. Dragon Fang! He yelled. The two moves clashed, and the result was a small boom that sent them both back a few feet. Hinata got up first and charged with her lance. This time Naruto rushed forward too. The clang of the metal of their weapons filled the air as they went at each other again and again and again. After a few minutes Hinata managed to get the drop on Naruto. She managed to shove her lance past his head and brought down the handle on the back of his neck. Naruto fell to the ground and Hinata drove her lance toward his back. She expected him to dodge, but it hit him right in the spine. She, along with the rest of the audience, gasped in horror until he burst into a puff of smoke, revealing a log. Hinata sighed happily, knowing that she had not murdered her love, but she was nervous as to his current whereabouts. Burning storm. She heard the voice like thunder, and a barrage of kunai came down from the sky and smacked the ground all around her. She noticed that they all had paper bombs on them. They all went off at once, leaving the arena in smoke. When the smoke cleared, it showed Naruto off to the side. He looked a little scared cause he might have just fried his girlfriend. When the smoke cleared at the center, his eyes nearly popped out of his skull. Hinata was still alive, but she was spinning in the middle of a dome of chakra. What is that? He asked as Hinata stopped spinning. It's called the rotation, Hinata explained. If is pin while concentrating chakra, I can create a barrier around myself. It also has the ability to turn the energy of a technique back on whoever sends it at me. In the stands, Hayashi and Hanabi were beaming with pride. Hayashi because the Hyuga that his family had considered weak had mastered 2 of the most powerful Hyuga moves out there. Hanabi was beaming because she was the little sister of one of the most powerful Hyuga at the moment. Back in the arena, Naruto was smirking. I think it's time we take of the training wheels, he said. Hinata nodded. Naruto reached into his sleeves and took off the weights he had there, and the ones he had on his legs. Hinata was curious. How much do those weigh? She asked. Naruto grinned at her. About 400 pounds each. Everyone was shocked that Naruto had that much weight on him and he could still move that fast. Hinata's eyes grew wide. If he was that fast with them on, how fast was he without them? The answer came when he vanished in a blur that not even Minato could follow. Hinata looked around for him but couldn't find him anywhere. Just when she thought he had run away, she was hit in the stomach. Then she was hit with a barrage of punches and kicks from her fast-moving lover. She had to think fast. If she didn't get out of there, she would be beaten to a pulp. But how it was like trying to hit air. That was when she got an idea. She focused chakra into he back and grew chakra wings. She took to the air and looked down at the field. Just then Naruto became visible again and yelled, "You're not the only one with wings, Haim." He focused Elian's chakra into his back and flew up after her. Once in the air, the two started clashing again. The sounds of punches and clanging of metal were abundant in the air. Eventually the two ended up in a grappling contest with their weapons pressed against the others, each side pushing forward to try and get a leg up on the other so that they could break away. Hinata solved this by bringing her knee up into Naruto's stomach. He clutched his belly and floated back a little bit. Hinata took advantage of his pain and shot forward, but Naruto yelled out, "Dragon Shield." As the name implied, a shield of silver chakra formed a circular shield in front of Naruto. The shield blocked the attack and then tentacles from it wrapped around her arms. They then sent a surge of energy that shocked Hinata. She screamed in pain and was sent flying into the stands. She would have hit someone had the seals Naruto put up before the fight when he was getting images for his body flicker not activated. A shield formed where Hinata would have hit, and she bounced off of it. She shook her head to get rid of the dizziness that had come over her during her electrocution. When the dizziness wore off, she faced Naruto. "You know how you can form armor with that chakra of yours?" she asked, getting a raised eyebrow from Naruto. "You're not the only one." Hinata closed her pale blue eyes and there was a burst of blue chakra. The chakra all concentrated on her, and there was a burst of light. Everyone had to cover their eyes so they wouldn't end up blind. When the light faded, it showed Hinata had completely transformed. She was now a bit taller, and she had on armor. Her armor was mostly blue with a little gold on the gauntlets and boots. Her chakra wings were now real wings made out of shining blue feathers. Not to mention her hair was now long enough to go past her shoulders to the small of her back. She had on a mask that only covered her mouth and nose. Naruto chuckled as he surveyed Hinata's armor. "Not bad," he said, smiling. "Now it's my turn." Naruto took Kyuubi's sword and pressed it against the fox tattoo on his arm. The sword was sealed in it successfully. It was revealed by a black sword now in the middle of the fox. He held up the sword and yelled, "Elian, lend me your power!" Silver chakra burst formed the sword and formed a massive dragon. It roared, but this time there were no screams. The villagers knew that this creature did not mean them any harm. The beast flew down and flashed as it merged with Naruto. Again everyone covered their eyes so they wouldn't be blinded by the light. When the light died, it showed Naruto in a new type of armor. This time it was silver with gold in certain spots on the gauntlets. The shoulders had dragon-like claws on them and his boots had 3 short curved blades on the toes. He too had a mask that only covered his nose and mouth. His eyes now had black slit pupils and the iris had turned gold. What got everyone's attention was that Naruto had grown some extra parts. He now had a pair of leathery-looking reptilian wings on his back and a dragon tail growing out of lower back. To everyone he looked pretty good in silver armor. He almost looked like a knight in shining armor. "Shall we continue?" Naruto said in commanding yet demanding voice. "Yes, let us continue," Hinata answered. His voice was now light and angelic. The two took their weapons and charged at each other. Their weapons clanged as the two fought. Eventually the two were put in another grappling contest. This time though Naruto managed to knock the lance from Hinata's hands and shot at her with a fist extended. The fist made contact with her gut. Then he lifted up his leg and brought it down on her skull. Hinata was sent flying down into the arena floor. Naruto looked for her when he saw a star forming in the crater that he knocked Hinata into. Star lightning storm. The beams of light shot forward at Naruto, who was barely able to dodge in time. Hinata looked up when she noticed that Naruto had his dragon eye active. She gasped and flew up at him before he could use the move against her. She managed to reach him and managed to stop him before he could use it. She did her best to stop him from using it, but Naruto held out his hands and yelled, "Dragon chains!" Multiple chains shot from Naruto's hands. Unlike the chains Kyuubi used in the fight with Orochimaru, these were completely made of silver energy instead of iron. The chains wrapped around Hinata and then drove into the ground, keeping her locked in place. Hinata looked at Naruto and nodded. She knew what was going to happen next. Naruto pushed both his hands forward and a massive seal formed in front of his hands. The seal started out blue, but then it turned silver. Naruto cried out, "Star Lightning Dragon." The seal turned to a swirling vortex, and then a large dragon made of silver energy poked its head out and roared at Hinata. The beast's head shot forward and closed its mouth around her. Instead of swallowing her, though, it went forward and hit Hinata with a ton of energy. While Hinata managed to keep her eyes open, she saw the inside of the dragon was completely made of those energy beams from her Star Lightning Storm attack. As the attack continued, Hinata screamed out in pain. When the attack stopped, it revealed Hinata had lost her angelic armor. The chains faded and Hinata fell. Everyone gasped in horror, as Hinata would most likely fall to her doom. She would have hit the ground had Naruto not swept down and caught her. Naruto lost his armor as he landed on the ground, and everyone let out a sigh of relief. Naruto shook Hinata slightly, and she woke up. She smiled warmly at him. "I knew you wouldn't let me fall," she said in a weak voice. Naruto smiled. "I had to save my little angel," he said. The two leaned in and kissed each other. Every female occupant in the stands couldn't help but go, "Oh, winner, Naruto Namikaze," Minato said, declaring Naruto the winner. Naruto smiled as he and Hinata broke their kiss. Hinata smiled too. Then she let sleep take her. A medic team came and took her away so she could be treated for wounds. "All right," Minato said as Hinata was taken off the field. "We'll announce those who will advance to Chunin in a few minutes. Everyone stay. If you get hungry, feel free to stop at the concession stands for lunch. Ramen provided by Ichiruka." Naruto grinned at that and took off to get some of Ichiruka's ramen. When he got there, he was surprised to see a lot of his friends there. "Hey guys," he said, getting everyone's attention. "Hey Naruto," Ino said, smiling. "Great matches." "Yeah," Chuji said, his mouth full of ramen. "How did you do that?" "The fox and dragon helped me out," Naruto answered. Naruto also went into detail about his dojutsus and the power that he had gotten from the training with his dad. "To be honest," Shikamaru said, "it's kind of obvious that you were the fourth son." "Yeah," Tenten said, "you do look a lot like him." Naruto grinned when he heard that. In truth, it was almost eerie that he looked a lot like his dad. To be honest, when he looked at his dad, it was like looking in a mirror. After a few minutes of waiting, everyone was called back to the arena. Naruto was surprised when he found Hinata was there. When he asked why, she told him that one of the abilities from her angel Byakugan gave her the ability to heal quickly. "All right," Minato said as everyone sat down. "Will the following contestants please step up?" Hinata, Naruto, Temari, Shikamaru, and Ino. They all stepped up as Minato continued. "You all displayed exemplary traits today in battle. For this you are proceeding to the level of Chunin." Minato walked up to the group to give them their Chunin vests. He took out a Chunin vest and handed it to Ino. "You showed that you have grown up and have great skill as a ninja. For this you will advance." Ino took the vest and squealed. He gave a Chunin vest to Shikamaru. "You showed that you have incredible smarts as a ninja. You showed that it takes not just brawn but brains to be a ninja. You also showed brains when you knew you were out of chakra. A ninja must know his limits. You advance." Shikamaru took the vest and smiled lazily. He gave another one to Temari. "You were able to combine your usual techniques and come up with a strategy on the fly. You showed that every female ninja out there has a great potential as a strategist. You advance." Temari smiled happily as she took the vest. He walked up to Hinata and handed her one. "You showed that you have grown over the past month. You showed the strength and power of the Hyuga clan as well as your own abilities. You advance." Hinata smiled brightly as she took the vest. Finally, he walked up to Naruto. "My son. You showed incredible skill and power today. You also showed mercy when you kept Gaara alive and compassion when you saved Hinata. For showing this you will advance." As Naruto was handed the vest, he smiled like a fox. Minato stepped back. "From this moment on you are now Chunin." The crowd erupted into cheers and applause. Unfortunately, good things never last, as there was an explosion heard from the far side of the village. "What the heck?" Minato asked. "An ANBU appeared, sir," he said, bowing. "There are a squad of sound ninja heading this way. They are being led by Kabuto." Minato sighed. He figured as much. He had suspected Kabuto as a spy since he had those cards with info on the ninjas of the Leaf Village. "Well," Naruto said, grinning, "what are we waiting for? Let's go." Minato grinned and with the new Chunin took off toward the fight. Chapter 15, New Mission and Future Ally. The newly promoted Chunin and Minato ran through the village. They found the platoon of sound ninja being led by Kabuto on the eastern side of the village. "So you are with the Sand Village?" Naruto growled as he saw Kabuto. "Yes, I am," Kabuto said. "I came here as part of my master's plan to destroy the Leaf Village. Unfortunately, you destroyed the information along with my master in the Forest of Death." Naruto thought for a few minutes, then realization hit him. "Orochimaru?" he asked. "Orochimaru was your master?" "He was," Kabuto growled, "and now we will avenge him." The ninja from Sound shot forward and attacked. They never had a chance. The team from Sound, that is. Between the power of Minato, Hinata, Naruto and the others, the team form Oto was completely destroyed. Kabuto managed to last a while, but eventually he was taken out too, after the battle had died down and someone had gotten rid of the bodies. Minato went up to the prison to look into a few things. He asked his son to come with him because there was something only Naruto could do. When they got there, Minato requested to see a certain few prisoners. The warden guided him to the room where they were staying. As he entered, he asked Naruto to stay outside. As he entered, he saw the Sound Ninja 5 strapped down to different medical beds. Or in the case of a certain one on his side, Kidamaru, the guy with multiple arms, noticed him first. "Ah! He's here to finish the job," he yelled in fear. "Quick, someone throw me out the window." Minato shook his head and chuckled inwardly at Kidamaru's antics. "Actually, that's not why I'm here," Minato said, causing the Sound Ninja to relax. "I'm actually here to extend an offer." "And what might that be?" Jirobo, the big bone man, asked. "To join the Leaf Village," Minato answered. The Sound Ninja were in shock. They had tried to destroy this guy's village, and he was asking them to join it? Insanity. "What would you ask of us in return?" asked Kimimaro. His voice was weak due to the disease that infected his lungs. "Merely that you work with us and help us against our enemies," Minato answered. "I believe that I can get you guys the rank of Jounin." "Why are you doing this?" Shukan, the silver guy, asked. "Yeah, why?" Yukan, his brother that was growing out of his back, asked as well. To be honest, that guy kinda freaked him out. "I see people who were taken by a man who used them for his own gain. I am merely offering you a chance to have your lives back." They all seemed to think about that for a minute. "We're in," Shukan said, grinning. "Although, I don't think I will be much use due to my sickness." Kimimaro groaned. Minato grinned. "I was wondering if you would bring that up." Naruto came in and saw that Sound Ninja. He knew what his dad was doing because he had told him. He looked around until he saw Kimimaro. "That him?" Naruto asked. Minato nodded. Naruto walked up to Kimimaru's bed, placed a hand on his chest and said, "Dark healing art, purge of the unnatural." Kimimaru felt a surge through his lungs and he stopped breathing for a second. When he did start breathing again, he noticed something. He gasped, "I can breath." The others looked at Naruto in shock. It was said that normal means of medicine wouldn't heal his disease. Apparently whoever said that had never met Naruto. "So," Minato said after a few seconds of silence, "I'll see you in my office tomorrow to turn in your sound headbands and to get your leaf headbands." With that said, Minato grabbed his son and left. As he left though, Minato could have sworn he saw Taiya wink at Naruto. A few weeks later things had really changed. First of all, the Sound Ninja were made Jounin except for Kin, who had recovered in the hospital. She was made a Genin and was put on Naruto's team as an extra member in case one was incapacitated or if they needed backup. Along with that, Kin and Taiya also pledged themselves to Naruto, making them his fiancés as well. The other girls weren't so keen on it, but after a while they warmed up to them. Eventually Itachi revealed himself and everyone was a little nervous when they found out he was back. Fortunately, Minato explained the business behind the Uchiha massacre. Apparently the Uchiha clan was going to plan an uprising against the village and make slaves of the other clans, especially the women. To say everyone was angry was an understatement. All of Sasuke's normal supporters in the civilian council turned their backs on him, and everyone else looked at him with hate and disgust. He also lost his fan club, including Sakura. She managed to develop a healthy interest in Gaara Go figure. After she apologized for what she did to Naruto, he happily forgave her. Now Sakura and Gaara are engaged because the Hokage found out about the Sand Village being part of the invasion force when Orochimaru died. They set up the marriage to get the relationship between the two villages good again. At the moment, Naruto was hanging out with his girls when an ANBU showed up saying that his father had asked to see him. Naruto had gotten used to this. Everyone had accepted that Naruto was Minato's son. Even Sasuke's former fan club was going toward him now. "What's up, Pops?" Naruto asked as he entered his father's office. "Naruto," Minato started, "I have a mission for you and your team." Naruto grinned. Things were starting to get a little boring around here. The girls were nice, but he really needed to see some action. There have been reports of a new city in one of Western countries. You and your team are to go check things out. He handed Naruto a file. This village is said to be made entirely of females, and they don't have a very good outlook on the males of the outside world. You're going to have to be careful. Oh, and when you come back we'll finish your training. Naruto nodded. He left, grabbed his team and explained the mission to them. They left within an hour. "So how are we going to get there?" Kushina asked. To answer her, Naruto brought out Elion's chakra and slammed his palm onto the ground. Dragon summoning. There was a large burst of smoke. When it cleared, they saw a massive dragon. It was large enough for all four of them to ride on. After they got on and took off, Hinata let her curiosity get the better of her. "How did you summon a dragon?" she asked. "As part of my deal with Elion, I can summon dragons. I also have a summoning contract with Kyubi. They both are the bosses of each summoning contract." Naruto explained. After a few hours they found the place they were looking for. The place was in the middle of a thick jungle. It was a large village that looked more like a fortress. It was surrounded by a high iron wall that had spikes at the top to prevent someone from climbing up and over. There were also towers that more than likely had archers at the top. The ones in the towers were the ones who saw the dragon first. They sent a message via arrow to the ones on the ground who got ready. When the beast landed, the ones on the ground got ready to fight. They were surprised when Ino, Kushina and Hinata got off the beast's back. One of the female warriors walked forward to Kushina. "Welcome, Ninja of the Leaf," she said in a commanding tone. "We trust you got here without any trouble." Kushina raised an eyebrow. "How did you know we were coming?" she asked. "We were informed by a messenger hawk sent by your leader," the Amazon replied. The warrior woman examined the group. She seemed rather content with them until she laid her eyes on Naruto. The moment she did, she became cross. She sent a burning glare at him that normally would make someone uneasy. She was shocked to find that he wasn't affected by it. "You're not the first person to look at me like that, lady," Naruto said, looking at her with the same glare. The woman scoffed. Part of the deal was that only female ninja would come. Kushina crossed her arms. "The deal has changed," Kushina said, crossing her arms. "Either you can let us all in or you can forget the deal." The woman chucked and reached for her sword. "And what," the woman asked, "is to keep me from slaying him on the spot right now?" The next thing she knew, Hinata had a lance at her throat, Kushina had a katana at her stomach, and Ino had a kunai pointed right between her eyes. "Us," Kushina growled, "and the big guy over there." The dragon growled and crossed its left front leg in front of Naruto. "Fine," the woman growled, "let them pass." The group walked past the guard until she stopped Kushina. "And what of the beasts?" the guard asked. As if to answer her question, the dragon vanished in a puff of smoke. Every one of the Amazons stared at this. Since they were separated from the rest of the world, they didn't know about jutsu or any of the other ninja stuff. "You get used to it," Kushina said, noticing the shock on the women's faces. The team went through the gates into the city. They saw that it looked very much like a normal village, except everything was carved out of gray stone. Naruto noticed the cold glares he was receiving from the women, but he just ignored them. After a few minutes of walking, they were led to a large temple. In it sat a woman in toga with fine jewelry and a tiara on her head of blonde long hair. It was pretty obvious to everyone that she was the one in charge. "Welcome, females and man of the Leaf Village," the queen said. She said man with a bit of disgust. "I wonder how they keep their numbers from decreasing?" Naruto thought. "I think that falls under the category of don't know and don't want to find out." Naruto thought about it a minute, then inwardly shuddered. The queen kept on talking about their home, and why they didn't like men very much. Apparently they were from villages that only used women as toys or tools for their own pleasure. The queen noticed that Naruto's eyes flashed red when she mentioned it. After the speech on their culture, the queen had them sent to their accommodations. On the way, Naruto felt the same burning glares from the women but ignored them still. "Man, and I thought the people in my village used to hate me," he thought. When they arrived at the place they were staying, Naruto couldn't help but let his jaw drop. The place was more like a mansion than a place for visitors. The woman that led them there showed them to their rooms. "You should consider yourself lucky," she said as she left, glancing at Naruto. "Most men who come here don't get such pleasantries." Naruto just ignored her tone and looked around the room. He saw that there wasn't a TV or a radio or anything else of modern age. He guessed that would be the case since they were cut off from the world. He saw that there was more than one room to sleep. Apparently they didn't want him to touch his fiancées or his mother. Naruto sighed. "My time here is not going to be easy," he thought. Later on that night, the girls slept in one room while Naruto slept in another. As he slept, the window opened. In stepped a tall Amazon. She had red hair tied up in a ponytail. Her eyes were a bright green that shined in the moonlight. She had on a pink toga and gold belt that had a sword on it along with a few throwing knives. She looked at Naruto and scowled. She slowly made her way across the room as she hoped not to arouse him from his sleep. When she reached his bed, she reached onto her belt and took out a throwing knife. She raised it high above her head and brought it down, plunging it into Naruto's stomach. She grinned as she saw the knife delve deep but gasped when he burst into smoke. She looked around to see where he had gone. "Hi there." She turned to the voice just in time for Naruto to connect his fist with her jaw. She was sent back a little bit and clutched her jaw in pain. For a man, he hits hard, she thought. She jumped out the window and jumped across the rooftops with Naruto hot on her heels. When they reached a certain location, she spun around and whipped out her sword. Naruto didn't have either of his, so she thought that this was going to be an easy fight. She charged at him, swinging in a downward arc. She was surprised when Naruto dodged it easy. She swung again and again and again until she was out of breath. Naruto took advantage of her exhaustion and kicked her in the face. She was sent sprawling across the rooftop. She was about to get up when Naruto started to go through hand signs. She raised her eyebrow in curiosity when he called out, "Dark Style, Chains of the Abyss." The woman almost cried out in shock as chains came out from the shadows and wrapped around her, pinning her to the ground. She looked up at Naruto, who was smirking. "Men," she spat, "now I bet you plan on using me as do all of your kind." Naruto walked up to her and to her surprise felt the chains leave her. While she was still, Naruto crouched down and looked into her eyes. "Not all men are like that," he said as he winked at her. With that said, he left to go back to his room and sleep. The Amazon he had spared looked on with a great deal of confusion. She was told that all men were scum who used women for their own purposes. She went to tell the queen. She knew she was going to be in trouble for waking her up this late, but she had to tell her of this development. Of course, if she wasn't in such deep thought, she would have noticed a male figure jumping down from the wall and running into the jungle. Later, a group of ninjas sat around a fire waiting for an informant. They were ninja from Kumo. They too had heard of an all-female village and were sent to check it out. They had sent one ahead so they could evaluate the situation, so they could take one to use in their bloodline breeding program like they tried to do to Hinata. Sir, they all turned to see the informant that had snuck into the city to spy on them. What news do you have? The commander of the team asked. There is a village of women, the spy said. They don't know of jutsu, so we can take one easy. The commander grinned at this. With them using jutsu they could take more than one. There is some other news, the spy said. There is a team from Konoha there, and they have a Hyuga. The commander's grin grew even more. They might actually be able to get a Hyuga out of this. But there is a complication, the spy continued. The one called Naruto Uzumaki is there. At this news the commander paled. Ever since his display of power at the Chunin exams, Naruto had gained quite the reputation in the elemental countries. He was given the name the Beast of Konoha because of his summoning contracts, and how viciously he fought. After the commander thought for a moment, he got an idea. Yujito! He yelled. Yujito was a tall blonde-headed girl about Naruto's age. She had on a Kumo headband and she wore mostly blue. Naruto is here, he said to her. When we get to the village you are to stop him from getting in the way. Even if it means your life. Yujito only nodded. On the back of her neck was a seal that kept her from thinking on her own. She was forced to have it on her because the current Raikage only had her around until she was useless for the village and for his fantasies. After she accepted her orders she lay down to sleep. In Yujito's mindscape, a large cage sat in a dark room. In it something crouched, and then rose up. A small light shone in, revealing a pair of glinting green eyes. 3 tails swished and swayed behind it. The beast looked out of its cage. It felt a familiar presence. A feeling it had not had in years. Kyubi, it said in a feminine voice. If it were light enough in the cave you would have seen its fangs glint as it smiled. Chapter 16, Fox vs. Kumo. Naruto woke up a little bit tired. He had some trouble getting to sleep after his little run-in with the Amazon last night. He rubbed his head a little and got up to take a bath. After he did he got his clothes and weapons. He was about to leave when he ducked an arrow that flew through the window. Naruto looked at the arrow and saw a knot on it. He took it off and read, a letter of challenge. Naruto Namikaze, you have been challenged by the princess of this land to a battle in the arena. This is a battle to prove the strength of your village. Failure to comply will result in your execution. Signed, the Queen. After reading it Naruto sighed. He just couldn't get a break with these women. Naruto left his current home and went for the arena. Naruto looked at the arena with wide eyes. The place looked like it could hold 3 villages in it. It was made completely of stone, and it made the arena in his village look like a house. Naruto entered the arena through the side door and ended up right where the match was going to be held. The arena was filled with Amazons who had come to see their princess fight him. He saw a certain booth where he saw the Queen and his mom and teammates sitting. He smiled at them and they smiled back, except for the Queen, of course. On the other end of the arena a female entered. She was at least Naruto's age, and she had a look in her eyes that screamed royalty. She was wearing a white toga and long black hair which flowed past her shoulders. Her eyes were a sparkling blue and she had a silver tiara on her head. Naruto smirked at her. You must be the princess, he said matter-of-factly. What makes you say that, the girl asked. The tiara, that powerful stride you have, and you have your mother's eyes, Naruto answered, counting the reasons on his fingers. Not bad for a man, she said, a little bit impressed. The Queen stood up and all went silent. Today, she said, your princess fights this male so that he may prove his strength and that of his village to us. After this battle no ill will may befall him. The two got ready in the arena. The girl drew the sword from her hip and Naruto drew the swords from his back. They both got into a kenjutsu stance. Begin! The Queen cried. The princess started by charging forward to get Naruto, but he just jumped out of the way. Naruto growled slightly as he charged at her. This time swords met, and clanged loudly as they struck. For each time one of them swung the other managed to parry. Naruto had an advantage since he had 2 swords. Suddenly Naruto leapt back and did something that the princess, or any other Amazon, expected him to do. He threw off his trench coat, and drove his red sword into the ground. His trench coat landed and hung on the sword's handle. The princess was wondering why he had done that. I plan on making this a fair fight. I'm not looking to start a war, Naruto explained, making the princess and a lot of other Amazons confused. They had all learned to hate men. Had they been wrong? Only the Queen and the visitors from Konoha didn't have the look of confusion. The girls from Konoha were used to Naruto being this way. The Queen, however, had heard of this from the woman that attacked him. She was surprised when Naruto had spared the woman. She guessed that either it was an act or that was how he really was. After seeing this she knew it wasn't an act. Back in the arena the princess charged again. Naruto met her move for move and managed to block each of her attacks. Eventually the princess tired out, and Naruto seized his chance. He swung his sword and it would have made contact, but the princess rose her arms to reveal silver bracelets that stopped Naruto's sword cold. The two engaged in a grappling contest until Naruto head-butted her. The force of the blow knocked her to the ground. As she got up she felt something touch her throat. She looked up to see Naruto with his sword pointing at her neck. She growled at him. Go ahead, she said, end my life? Naruto sighed. I said it once, I'll say it again. I'm not looking to start a war. He took his sword from her throat and held out his hand. She looked at it curiously, and then took it. Naruto lifted her up from the ground and grinned. Well, he said, now that is taken care of, I am out of here. Naruto turned promptly, grabbed his other trench coat, sheathed both his sword and promptly turned tail and ran for it. His teammates couldn't help but grin. Later, the princess was staying in her room. She was thinking back to what had happened in the arena. That man had her at his mercy and he spared her. Slowly a small smile graced her lips. She was starting to think not all men are complete monsters. At that moment she felt something prick her neck. She felt around it until she pulled out a needle. She started to feel drowsy and she couldn't move her arms or legs. As her vision started to fade she saw the figure of a man. That was the last thing she saw before she blacked out. Meanwhile, Hinata looked around her place. She was currently looking for Naruto. She hadn't seen him since the fight against the princess. She was starting to leave when she felt something sting her arm. She removed a small hypodermic needle. She guessed it was shot from a blow dart. That was all she thought before she lost consciousness. A few minutes later, Naruto was walking through the streets looking for his teammates. He hadn't seen any of them since his fight. He was about to give up when a gong went off. It sounded a few times before almost everyone in sight started to rush for the temple. This can't be good, Naruto thought as he started making a run for the temple himself. When he got there he was called inside by his mother. He ran in to find the queen, some guards and his teammates there. He didn't see Hinata though. Where's Hinata? Naruto asked, worried for his love. She has been taken, the queen said, and so has my daughter. Naruto's eyes went wide with fear. Hinata had been taken and the princess. This didn't look good. Who took them? Kushina asked. We were informed of outsiders seen in our borders with a symbol of a cloud on their headbands, the queen informed them. Kumo, Naruto growled. Kumo? The queen asked. Kumo is a village in the land of lightning, Kushina explained. They tried to take on of the Hyuga, Hinata's family, a few years ago so they could enroll her in their bloodline reproduction program. The queen raised her eyebrow at that. Kushina noticed this and continued. Bloodlines are hereditary traits that can be passed down. They plan to use Hinata as stock for it, and when she can't reproduce anymore they'll probably keep her just to use her as a toy. They may do the same to your daughter. The queen was outraged at this. She probably would have started yelling if not for the sudden release of energy from Naruto. She saw red energy rolling off him as well as a lot of killing intent. Her guards stood at the ready in case he attacked them. Instead Elion's sword turned to chakra and flew into Naruto's arm. Then the red chakra completely, and there was a flash of red light. Everyone who could see covered their eyes. When it faded it showed Naruto in his fox armor form. He threw back his head and roared monstrously. He sniffed the air until he caught Hinata's scent. Then he spun around and shot off like a rocket in the direction they were going. What in the name of Hera was that? The queen half asked half yelled. That's what Naruto does when he's angry, Ino said nonchalantly. You get used to it. Meanwhile Naruto was running like an animal through the city. He heard a few screams from the women below, and he could have sworn he felt something like an arrow brush past his leg. He even heard some of the women calling for his death while he was in the city. He ignored it all right now, he was running on instinct. He had to protect Hinata, he had to. He found the group he was looking for. Fortunately for them Naruto's common sense kicked it. Naruto decided to wait until tonight to get them. That night, the camp was waiting for word from the Raikage to know when it was clear to return. Some were getting impatient, others were getting bored. Hey guys, one said, we have some girls here, don't we? Why don't we have some fun? They all agreed with him. The Raikage said that they would start Hinata's and the princess's breeding as soon as possible. Why shouldn't they start now? They brought Hinata and the princess out. The captain of the team walked up and started putting his hands on her. Hinata would have done something, but the drug that was in the needle they hit her with was very potent, and was still in effect. Yujito sat off to the side, disgust obvious on her face. If it weren't for the seal on her she would have done something to stop them. Some of the other guys were starting to get involved with the princess who had received a stronger dose. Yujito closed her eyes so she wouldn't have to see this. The captain was in the process of trying to get Hinata's shirt off when they heard a twig snap. Who's there? The captain asked the jungle, turning his attention away from Hinata. The guys who were with the princess stopped too. Another twig snapped, and something was seen in a blur running between the trees. You! The captain said, pointing at one of his men. Find who's out there and kill him. The soldier obeyed and ran out into the wilderness. Soon there was a crack of bone and a scream followed by a gurgling sound. A few seconds later the soldier was thrown back at them. When they went to inspect the body they saw that his throat had been ripped open. At this point even Yujito was nervous. Now fully aware of the danger they left the girls alone and formed a circle facing the direction of jungle around them. Even Yujito stood with them. They tried to find whoever it was who was messing with them, but the fire didn't give very good lighting outside of the camp. Who's there? The captain yelled again, trying to sound tough, but you could tell he was scared. Somebody, a dark voice responded. The voice sent a chill down the Kumo ninja's spines. The captain heard someone cry out. He turned to the noise to see that a member of his team was missing. One of the soldiers was scanning the jungle for him, but he could barely see anything. He saw a brief flash of red and threw a kunai at the spot. He heard it hit something. "I got him," he yelled. That was then that a body was thrown at the camp. Everyone nearly lost it as they saw the same soldier that went missing a few seconds ago with a kunai in his head. The soldier who threw it grew pale and then angry. He yelled out a war cry and ran out into the jungle to find who did it. The next thing that Yujito and the captain heard were his screams followed by a loud roar. The captain had had enough of these games. He took out 2 kunai and ran over to Hinata and the princess. "All right, monster," he yelled as he pressed the kunai to their necks. "Come out or I kill them both." By now the girls had woken up and they were aware of the situation. They noticed the dead bodies and Hinata guessed who was behind this. The princess, however, was a little freaked out. The captain was waiting for a response when he heard a loud thud behind him. All of them, even Yujito, turned to see who their tormentor was. The captain stepped back, fear etched on every inch of his face. In front of him stood Naruto in his fox armor form. The captain took one look on that figure, and he dropped dead in fright. "Wimp!" Yujito backed away from the massive figure. Naruto looked at her. In Naruto's mind, Kyuubi sensed something familiar. He had sensed it when he first saw the girl. He tried to remember who it was. Then it dawned on him. "Kit!" he yelled, getting Naruto's attention. "That girl, she's Nibi's container." "You sure?" he mentally asked him. "Yes." Naruto faced the frightened girl. "I have no intention of harming you, kitty," he said, getting a gasp from Yujito. What are you going to do?" she asked, shaking with fear. To answer her, he walked up to her and put a hand on her cheek. His armored hand ran gently over her cheek until it was on the back of her neck. Once it was there, he dug a claw into her neck. Yujito cried out in pain as she felt the claw dig into her skin. Naruto suddenly let go as her hand flew to her neck. "What did you do?" she asked. She felt like she had a burden lifted off her shoulders. "You had a seal on your neck that bent your will," he said, stating the obvious. "I simply removed it." Yujito stared at him for a few seconds, then she smiled. Naruto smiled back and took his human form. Yujito then got a mischievous grin. She grabbed Naruto by the collar and kissed him deeply. This action got a scowl from Hinata and a raised eyebrow from the princess. When the kiss broke, Naruto looked at Yujito questionably. "That was to thank you for freeing me," she said, smiling. Naruto cleared his throat. "I think you should come with us," he said. "You would make a good addition to Konoha." Yujito thought about it for a second. It would be nice for her to be seen as a human being instead of a weapon or a toy for a man's enjoyment. She nodded. Naruto grinned as he took out a kunai and put a long horizontal scratch over her Kumo headband. He used the same kunai to cut Hinata and the princess loose. After they were loose, they headed back to the Amazon village. When they got back, some of the Amazons were a little nervous around Naruto because of what they had seen him do before going after Hinata and the princess. "Now that the unpleasantness is out of the way, maybe we can get some business done," Naruto said as he stood in front of the queen yet again. "That will not be necessary, my boy," the queen said, drawing a sword. Naruto and his team stood at the ready. "You have my faith," she continued, sheathing her sword. "You spare one of my warriors when she attacks you. Then you spare my daughter in battle and save her and your loved one. I believe that an alliance with this hidden leaf village would be wise." She handed the sword to Naruto, who took it and set it on his shoulder. "Okay, time to guide you guys." Naruto, as he raised up his hand. "You should brace yourself, Yujito." "Why should I wa?" she cried out as she, along with Naruto and his team, were engulfed in gold fire. The Amazons looked down in space in shock at what had just happened. "The world of man keeps getting stranger and stranger," the princess said, breaking the silence. "That it does, daughter," the queen said, nodding. "That it does. What if Naruto is left for dead by Team 7 Council bashing?" And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.